All right, everybody, if you could please take your seats, we're going to get started. All right, Mr. Grady, if you could call the first case, please.
The next item is agenda item D1, rezoning application 19-0591. The applicant is Nicolia Barnett. The request is rezoned from RSC 9 to RDC 12. Steve Beach will provide staff recommendation after presentation by the applicant.
Mr. Beachy, the applicant goes next.
First.
You're ready, though. Noted for the record. Good evening.
Good evening, Nicolia Barnett, 912 Lakewood Avenue. I'm here to rezone my property from single resident to duplex.
Okay, thank you so much. If you could please sign in with the clerk's office. You're up, Mr. Beachy.
I'm back.
There you go.
Steve Beachy, Development Services. The request is to rezone a vacant parcel totaling 0.38 acres from RSC 9 to RDC 12. The applicant has indicated, they just stated they intend to construct a duplex on the parcel. The underlying comprehensive plan is Res 12. The subject parcel is a platted lot and as original lot of record. The applicant will not need to apply for a variance to utilize septic on less than an acre of area. The existing zoning pattern surrounding the subject parcel is predominantly RSC 9 with a few parcels designated RDC 12 scattered into the immediate area in proximity to the subject parcel. Therefore, changing the zoning designation to RDC 12 will contribute to a continuation of the existing pattern of RSC 9 and RDC 12 in the area. In addition, the larger surrounding area of the subject parcel includes industrial area, and therefore it's conceivable that reclassifying the parcel to RDC 12 will, albeit in a small scale, contribute to affordable housing options for the workforce in the area. Given these factors, the request will not introduce any new incompatibilities in the area. There were no agency objections. Staff recommendation is approvable. I'll be glad to answer any questions.
I don't at this time, but thank you. Planning Commission, please.
Melissa Leinhardt, Planning Commission staff. The subject property is located in the residential 12 future land use category. It is in the urban service area, and it is located within the limits of the East Lake Orient Park Community Plan. Policy 16.3 of the future land use element recognizes adjacent land uses being integrated through the creation of like uses or complementary uses. There is RDC 12 zoning that exists within the immediate area located to the northwest, southwest, northeast, and southeast of the subject site, which is consistent with this policy and direction. Per policy 1.4 of the future land use element, the applicant's request is compatible with the surrounding land use pattern, which consists of like uses that include single-family and multifamily residential housing. The proposed rezoning from RSC 9 to RDC 12 on the subject site is consistent with the East Lake Orient Park Community Plan, which includes a goal that supports the creation of housing opportunities. Based upon those considerations, Planning Commission staff finds the proposed rezoning consistent with the future of Hillsborough Comprehensive Plan for unincorporated Hillsborough County.
All right, thank you so much. We'll call for anyone that would like to speak in support. Anyone in favor? All right, seeing no one, anyone in opposition? Ma'am, are you in opposition?
Yes.
You could start by giving us your name and address, please.
I'm Patricia Blanton. I live at 6502 23rd Avenue, directly behind the property they want to build on. It used to belong to my mother. I've been there since the 50s. What they want to do is put in another rental property. The rentals around there trash out the area. It hurts my heart to see what it's doing to my old neighborhood. I personally have went down the street with a wheelbarrow picking up garbage. There's I'm nervous, excuse me.
Don't worry about it, it's okay. Take your
We
time.
have new families coming in with children, okay? You don't need 12 units on that small piece of property. Maybe a family that's going to bring more traffic in that area, more garbage, and there's only one way in there and one way out. There's a dead-end street there. There's a 100-year-old house, oak tree that was on the end of the property. They're going to bulldoze that down. They've already came in and knocked down property. The trees that were there, and you know what? There wasn't even a sign that said it was up for sale. It's all done on a hush-hush basis. And it just burns my heart to see it happening. They put more rentals there, and they don't pick up their garbage. What I worry about is where the sewer's gonna go. I drink the water there. I have a well. Where's the sewer gonna go for 12 units? In the ground. Across the street used to be a lake. They came in and filled up that lake. There's gonna be a sinkhole there, lady, because there used to be a nice spring there that we used to swim in. The new tribe of people coming in, they don't care.
Ma'am, let me interrupt you just 1 second, just to clarify something you said. I think there's a misunderstanding. Mr. Grady?
Across the street.
No, I understand the location. Mr. Grady, the proposal is for one duplex dwelling unit, is that correct?
The request is for RDC 12, which would allow duplexes. Given the size of the parcel, the most you could get on the property would be 4 units, which would be 2 duplexes, but I understand is the applicant's intent is to do 1 duplex on the property, given the requirements for
I
septic.
just wanted to clarify, because you said 12 units.
I'm
and that
reading
is
what
not
you
the
say
plan.
because I can't hear. I'm hard of hearing. But if you look at my property, it's all green. You need places like our neighborhood still that is green, because across East Broadway, they've got the recycling place where they burn the waste. That goes all the time. You know, if you tear down all the greenery, it's cleaning the air. You need our neighborhood. You don't need more garbage in there and more people. I mean, maybe a family, but 12 units?
All right, ma'am, thank you very much.
It's overwhelming. It just,
Thank you for coming down for your testimony. If you could please sign in with the clerk's office, I appreciate it.
There's 23rd, 24th, 25th, and 26th it's an old neighborhood, but the new people that are coming are new families. It's a quiet neighborhood, you know?
All right, thank you very much for coming down. I appreciate your testimony.
Let them go build somewhere else,
All right.
not there.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else that would like to speak in opposition? Thank you
Thank
for
you
coming
for
down.
letting me speak. I had it all written down, but then I just get all nervous and don't even read what I'm saying.
That's all
I'm
right.
just, where's the sewer gonna go? That's what I'm worried about.
Thank you for your testimony.
Thank
You can
you.
submit it into the record if you'd like. Anyone else that would like to speak in opposition? All right, seeing no one. County staff, anything further?
Nothing further. I would note that, again, if the woman who spoke has any questions regarding filing of oral argument, Fernando Quinones, who's here, can assist her with that. Any questions on that? And she can also, as you said, she can submit her written testimony in the record with the clerk's office.
Absolutely. All right, we'll go back to the applicant. Ma'am, do you have anything else to say? You have 5 minutes for rebuttal.
I just want to clarify that it's a duplex, just 2 buildings together. It's not going to be 12 people. Not everybody could afford to purchase a home, so rentals are also good as well. I'm basically building these duplexes to house veterans who cannot afford to buy.
So your proposal is 1 building with 2
Yes.
units in it?
Yes.
That's it? Okay.
That's it.
Thank you for that clarification. Then with that, we'll close rezoning 19-0591 and go to the next case.
The next item is agenda item D2, rezoning application 19-0595. The applicants are Fernando Saavedra and Casey Nguyen. The request is rezoned from AS1 to commercial neighborhood with restrictions. Charles Andrews will provide staff recommendation after presentation by the applicant.
Good evening.
Good evening. I have a PowerPoint for you.
Okay.
I push the PC button. There we go. Good evening, hearing officer. My name is Todd Pressman, 200 2nd Avenue South, number 451 in St. Petersburg, Florida. I have the honor of being before you for Sand Life tonight for an existing site that is youth-oriented and youth-based. I'm proud to have a large number of people here in support. If you all want to stand up so the hearing officer can see who's here. Put a lot of volleyballs in the audience, a lot of the youth and a lot of the adults who are involved with the site. Thank you. Thank you. The site is located in the roughly Seffner area here. Looking a little closer, Hillsborough Avenue. This is the site as the property appraiser has it, located here. And Sand Life is a community base, primarily a youth volleyball skills, training and coaching, mentoring, but it really is a passion project for youth in the neighborhood, for people who have been dedicated to volleyball skills all their lives, which includes Fernando, who played for the Bolivian Beach national volleyball team for 3 years, competed, coached for over 15 years, and Katya played for the University of Tampa for 4 years, All-American 93 and 94. Again, this is a passion. This is something they're trying to give back to the community. It is not a large, sprawling commercial enterprise seeking to run a big profit. It's a much different type of organization. So from AS1 seeking CNR, which is the size is 5 plus or minus acres, several restrictions in the staff report, time and days, lighting directive away from neighbors, which is normally included under the code, and we are controlling the use, only to be the use that we're presenting tonight. And as well, to make you well aware that the site is up and running and has been under code enforcement, and we've been working through the process to bring the site into compliance. This is what the site looks like. It's all outdoors. It's just simply the sand locations with the netting. You see there's a pretty good buffer. Oh, there's a pretty good buffer around the site already. Just another view. That's the water area that you saw in the aerial. The site does have a good buffer. As you can see, this is residential next door, and they have plans to improve the buffer beyond what's required by code. So a couple important points. Transportation, the reports indicated we 10 average daily trips, 1 a.m., 1 p.m. peak. The site is within the USA. Conservation and Environmental Lands Management staff report says the agency has no objections. They are working to respect the wetland setbacks. They just finished a wetland survey, and they've been filing for permits. Again, this is not a thriving, pulsing, impacting high-end franchise commercial use. As I've read the staff reports, my take on them is that they're mostly concerned about the budding residential community. And it is under Res 9. Res 9 typical uses are urban scale, neighborhood commercial, multi-purpose projects, and mixed-use development. And as I've indicated, they have worked towards a wetland survey, and they're moving towards those permits. I think one of the main questions, hearing officer, they want you to consider, which is where we differ from staff, and don't get me wrong, staff's done a good job here, but I think there's two completely different visions of what is going on. And I think you have to look no further than the many, many sports parks that Hillsborough County has. So I have quite a number of aerial photos. This is Rogers Sports Park, which is a sports facility, which is much more intensive right next to residential. Works very well. It's a county park. The county Citrus Park Complex, same thing. Baseball fields right up against residential. The county's Advertisements Sports Complex, same thing. You can go through a lot of examples as we were trying to see where really we felt that this use existed, which is exactly as a county public park, abutting residential. Again, county's Brandon North Sports Complex, county's Northeast Sports Complex, Orange County Sports Complex, Reuben Padgett Sports Complex. You can go through all these examples, and that's what we think this site really exists as, and exists really well. One of the neighbors are here. We have really good community support, which I'll walk you through. But on the comprehensive plan, the staff did mention and list a lot of comprehensive plan policies which they felt did not apply. But we would suggest that there's an entire chapter of the comprehensive plan that was not considered or put before you, which is the recreation open space chapter, which the executive summary very clearly says that goals, objectives, and policies establishes criteria for both the public and the private sector to meet the needs of the growing community in that chapter for recreation open space, to ensure that appropriate public parks, recreation facilities, and open spaces are available and reasonably accessible to the public. The county shall request private landowners to allow public recreation access to properties with resources that are considered valuable for recreation open space. And appropriate incentives shall be used to encourage developers, which is a little bit tangent to this, but still, that's a policy that moves those type of uses forward. And of course, as you well know, policy 16.14, that community gathering places shall be provided, because that's where people come together for interaction among residents, for neighborhood gatherings, and community cohesiveness. Now, we do demonstrate great support for you. I'm going to put in the file a large number of petition signatures and letters in support. So putting those on a map, this would be the site here. For the neighbors we are able to reach, all of these individual owners are on petition saying that they support the request. And that's actually expanded to a wider area, but we want to place emphasis on the abutting community. We have a letter from Pastor William Krupa, who is involved with the site, noting he's participated there. It's an excellent facility, witness strides to reach out to the immediate community and their good neighbors, provides a safe, fun, and rich environment for the youth. We also have a letter from the coach from Brandon High School, who has some students out there who also applauds the facility, and I have a letter from them as well. The Tampa Titans Volleyball and Weber International University have letters in support of the request. This is Amy Watson, Department Chair of Brandon High School Physical Education, noting the level of experience and discipline techniques that they provide for the young people in the community for this use. So again, we think we demonstrated great community support. There's many more signatures and support that I'll put in the record for you. The locational criteria or the locational waiver is based upon compatibility and unique circumstances. We do feel that the use is compatible. We have demonstration from a number of the immediate neighbors who were here and on video, which we'll show you, and in the petitions that I showed you. And it works exactly like the sports park, the many examples that I gave you, which abut residential uses as well. It's also a unique use. Again, it's not a thriving, profit-oriented commercial use, and the Transportation Department indicates a low amount of trips. So in summary, again, not to beat a dog, but it is an act that operates like county sports. It's built upon community and youth support versus hard impacting commercial use. Low trips, good buffering. They will respect the wetlands areas. The comp plan in some areas does support it, and we've demonstrated outstanding immediate community support. So with that, I'd like to ask Katya if you would come up. She has a couple of videos of some folks who could not be here.
Could I ask you one question
Oh,
before
please.
we proceed? The sites, the other sports complexes you showed.
If we could stop my time, please.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you.
The other sports complexes you showed, are those private, are any of them privately owned?
No, those are all county.
And what is the zoning on those properties?
I did not look at the zoning. What I looked at was a use, as this is, abutting residential. So I did not look at use. I assume it's a public category use.
Okay.
Or,
Thank
I'm
you
sorry,
very
public
much.
category zoning.
All right, please proceed.
Okay. Katya?
Mr. Pressman, are you going to show me pictures from the iPad?
We're going to show you video. We're going
You
to show you a few
submitted this
video
video?
clips, and we did check with the county attorney's office that we're going to submit a thumb drive with it to the record.
All right.
Is that what you were going to ask?
Allison, is that acceptable? Okay. Thank you very much. Please proceed.
The videos that we're going to show are two of the abutting neighbors.
You'll need to speak into the microphone.
The video will show, we have 3 videos. Two of the videos are abutting neighbors who supported us, who couldn't be here today, and then 1 video of all the kids, and you can see the activity that we have.
All right. Thank you so much. You've got about a little under 7 minutes left in your presentation time.
Can she state her name for the record? Her
Yes.
name and address?
Katya Saavedra, 1601 Dogwood Lane, Brandon, Florida.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Lourdes Pilot. My address here is 5325 Royal Oak Drive, and as you can see, I am right behind of the property next door, which is for like a volleyball player. For me, they never bother me. I always home. I work from home, and they come here in the morning, and I don't even hear anything. And they leave around 8 o'clock at night. The lights are always off. The property is always maintained very, very clean. And I have nothing to say but good stuff about the people. They're trying to do something good for the neighborhood here, for the children who live around here, that is, involve them into sports. And to me, that's something that needs to be done here, because we don't.
Go for it, guys.
Yes, my name is Danny Lamb, and this is my little woman, Shirley.
Where do you guys live?
We live at 5317 Royal Oak Drive. We live adjacent to the volleyball park.
And what do you think about it?
I don't have any issues with it. Matter of fact, it's kind of enjoyable to watch it ever so often.
Cool, so those kids are not too loud?
No, the kids are never too loud. I've had kids all my life. That's not an issue.
Oh, well, we really appreciate your support.
Well, you're more than welcome. Anything I can do to help you, we'll be here.
You got it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
You're on.
Hi, I'm Morgan. I play at Sand Life, and I think that it's a great community, and it creates a great skill level and different points of skill level to allow me to play in college in the future, and I don't know what I would do without it.
Hi, my name is Sophia. I play at Sand Life, and I love the coaches here, and it's a completely safe and lovable atmosphere, and the community is great, and it gives me a lot of opportunities for college in the future.
Do you want to play volleyball in college?
Yes.
Yes? All right. Thank you, Sophia.
My name is Abby, and I like Sand Life because I like to, oh my gosh.
It's okay, Abby. You can just say whatever you want to say. Go ahead.
Hi, my name is Abby, and I love Sand Life because I like the coaches, and I like to get to play volleyball here instead of go to the beach because I live in the city, and traveling to the beach is too far to play.
All right. Thank you, Abby.
Hi, I'm Andrew, and I like Sand Life volleyball because there's not a place for me to play volleyball.
Okay, there's like 20 of them there.
I think we prove the point there. We're happy to answer any questions that you might have.
You answered my question that I had. Thank you. Does that complete your presentation?
Yes.
Thank you so much. Development Services,
I'm going to
please.
put in the record a copy of the presentation and the petition.
The PowerPoint as well. Thank you so much. Development Services.
Good evening, Charles Andrews, Development Services. As the applicant stated, the request is to rezone the property from AS1 to the CNR, Commercial Neighborhood Restrictive Zoning District, to permit the establishment of a general indoor-outdoor recreational use for a private sports facility focused on volleyball skills coaching and education, comprised of 6 courts and associated uses. The property is located at 11107 Old Hillsborough Avenue within the Seffner Mango Community Planning Area. I'm going to go to the Elmo real quick with a map. There are several compatibility issues related to the request. Subject property is located within an established development pattern of single-family and multifamily development approvals here, and the residential support uses such as churches in the area, where commercial uses are discouraged based on their incompatible uses and intensities. Specifically, the site is located at the end of Old Hillsborough Avenue, which has limited vehicular access. Back here. Let's see here. Next, the site fronts a lake where adjacent residents would be adversely impacted by sound and other related items based on the proposed use and intensity. This has agricultural zoning down here, and this is RMC 9 here with multifamily approvals. Lastly, staff finds that the applicant's proposed operating hours do not adequately mitigate for and address the aforementioned compatibility concerns. The site is under current code enforcement violation regarding the improper use of zoning per CE 1801-5673. I will have James Ratliff with Transportation to speak on a few things after this last paragraph here. And basically, due to staff's concerns and the Planning Commission's finding that's listed in my staff report as inconsistent, staff finds the request not supportable. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
I don't have any this time. Thank you. Mr. Ratliff.
Hi, for the record, James Ratliff, Transportation Review Section, Development Services. There was just one error that I noticed in the staff report. The first summary bullet in the reports and conclusions basically says that it's 10 average daily trips, 1 a.m., 1 p.m. peak hour. That's actually incorrect. I would refer you down to the table where it shows existing zoning, proposed zoning, and then the difference there. Those are the correct figures. It does not change our conclusion. We still have no objection to the proposed request, but I did want to point that out for the record.
Thank you for that. I appreciate it. Planning Commission.
Melissa Leinhardt, Planning Commission staff. The subject property is located in the Residential 9 Future Land Use category. It is in the Urban Service Area and also located within the limits of the Seffner Mango Community Plan. Policy 1.4 of the future land use element defines compatibility as the characteristics of different uses or activities or design which allows them to be located near or adjacent to each other in harmony. Compatibility does not mean the same as, rather it refers to the sensitivity of development proposals in maintaining the character of existing development. The subject property is bordered by single-family residential development to the north, south, and west. The proposed zoning on the subject property would allow for commercial uses that would be too intense and out of character with the established residential development pattern. The proposed site is subject to Objective 22 of the future land use element regarding commercial locational criteria. The site does not meet commercial locational criteria for non-residential uses. The applicant has provided a waiver request to locational criteria as part of the application, which Planning Commission staff does not support based upon compatibility and environmental concerns. As required by Policy 16.5 of the future land use element, development of higher intensity non-residential land uses that are adjacent to established neighborhoods should be restricted to collectors or arterials and be located externally to established and developing neighborhoods. The subject property does not have access to a collector or an arterial roadway and is therefore not consistent with this policy direction. The eastern portion of the subject property is comprised of a wetland. Commercial uses may adversely impact the wetland. Policy 4.1 of the Conservation Aquifer Recharge element requires Hillsborough County to conserve and protect wetlands from detrimental physical and hydrological alteration. The subject parcel is also located within a 100-year floodplain, and Objective 5 of the same element requires the county to protect and conserve natural wildlife habitat attributes where they exist within the 100-year floodplain of major rivers and streams. The subject property is located within the Seffner Mango Community Plan, and this plan calls for, this plan discourages commercial encroachment into the residential areas between US 92 and Martin Luther King Boulevard and south of Martin Luther King Boulevard in order to enhance community character and ensure quality residential and non-residential development. The proposed plan development is inconsistent with that vision. Based upon those considerations, Planning Commission staff finds the proposed rezoning inconsistent with the future of Hillsborough Comprehensive Plan for unincorporated Hillsborough County.
Thank you so much. We'll call it this time for anyone that would like to speak in support. Anyone in support of the application that would like to speak? I see 3 hands. Okay. Anyone that would like to speak, please come forward and line up. Let me get a count so we can divide up the time. You have 15 minutes total. So let's see how many we have before you start. 2, 3, 4. I see 7. Is that about right? 7 people that would like to speak in support? 8? Okay, we'll call it 8. So we'll say, 11. We'll say a minute apiece, and if you could please try to keep it to that. And if there's, obviously that's not 15. We had 11, but we'll try to do our best. If you go first and give us your name and address.
Hello, my name is Patrick Morse. I live at 5319 Royal Oak Drive, Tampa, Florida, 33610. 2017, January, I paid my last mortgage payment. February 2017, I retired. I could not ask for any better neighbor than the neighbors I got right behind me. What they have done with that property has changed dramatically to the good. It's beautiful. They got kids out there playing sports and learning. The noise, you hear a volleyball hit. I was a DoD contractor for the Department of Defense assigned to the United States Army for 6.5 years. That's noisy over here. What I have behind me is beautiful.
Thank you for your testimony. If you could please sign in. Next, please. Good evening.
Good evening. William Craco, 807 East Sylvan Drive. So this facility is not too far from my neighborhood. I wish it was closer. I wish it was in my neighborhood. The program itself has been going on for about a year, and my kids, both of them, my son and my daughter, my oldest is 16, has spent more time at this program than he has on any video game in his entire life. It has been a blessing to us. It's been an encouragement to our family to see the 3 people that run this just be a mentor to them. I cannot express my appreciation enough for this. So thank you.
Thank you for coming down. I appreciate it. If you could sign in. Yes, sir. Good evening.
Hi, my name's Raymond Bryant from 9180 Bryant Road, Lakeland, Florida. My daughter is a member of the volleyball club here, and I can tell you, she come home from school wanting to be a volleyball player, and after the school program was over, we were short-handed on how to keep her playing, and we heard about beach volleyball. So we brought her over here, and I can tell you what I've seen. All I've seen is good people on this property, very passionate coaches that are into really taking care of these kids. And as far as the pollution and all this, this is just garbage. That sand ain't gonna hurt nobody. They're not doing anything. You know they're not hurting those wetlands. All this flood plan, that's all rubbish to me. Good common sense would tell you this is a good place where good people, good children are coming to hang out. And if you got to bend the rules a little bit, I think that would be a good place to bend the rules. There's so many times rules get bent for bad things. This is a good thing right here. And if y'all could help them out, I'd appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. If you could please sign in. Yes, ma'am. Good evening.
How are you? Hi, my name's Terry Adams, and my daughter's been a part of Sand Life. 1240 Crimson Clover Lane. My daughter has been a part of Sand Life for a while now. She's an 18-year-old young lady headed off to college. And I'm going to tell you that her safety is one of our biggest concerns, and I never felt that she was more safe or more well cared for when she was at the facilities with these people. They're not only developing volleyball players, but they're developing contributing members of our society. They teach these kids to work together, to communicate, to support one another. They go out and cheer for each other even when they're competing against each other. They have a family environment. We are all welcome there at all times, at any times, for events, to watch a practice, or just come and share our concerns about our kids. They're good people doing good things for our community, and I feel they deserve the opportunity to continue to grow leaders. And as an educator in the Hillsborough County public school system, I can tell you we need places like this for our kids to be. Our teenagers and our young middle schoolers need a place to feel safe and a place to go to spend their time in a productive way. And this place is a place for them to be. Thank you.
Thank you for your time. Yes, ma'am. Good evening.
My name is Tamara Knight, and I live at 10534 Lucaya Drive, Tampa, Florida, 33647. My daughter has been a participant and has been a member of Sand Life for about a year. And I can tell you it has boosted her confidence, her self-esteem. It helps her in schoolwork, manage her time. It has done so many positive things just for our family in general. But I can tell you, driving down, I thought Coach Katia was out of her mind where this place was located. I actually kept checking my GPS to say, are we in the right location? But then you go through the gate and you open up, and it's beautiful what she's done. I mean, it's just beautiful, and it is enhanced. This property has enhanced that neighborhood. It has not in any way made, I mean, it just hasn't done anything negative. And I support it, and I hope you do too.
Thank you so much for your time. Yes, ma'am. Good evening. Ma'am. If you could sign in, please.
Hi, my name is
Good
Tracy
evening.
Taylor, 1629 Totem Pole Way, Lutz, Florida. My husband and I feel it's very important to have our teenage daughter involved in a youth program that will ultimately help her develop lifelong skills. As part of the youth program at Sand Life Farm, she's learning the importance of teamwork, sportsmanship, perseverance, self-confidence, social development, and respect for authority and rules. Our family believes that Sand Life Farm is helping to build a stronger, healthier, happier, and safer community that we are very proud to be a part of.
Thank you so much for coming down. I appreciate it. Good evening.
Ryla Bryant, 9180 Bryant Road, Lakeland, Florida, 33809. I play at Sand Life Volleyball, and I enjoy being there every time I go, and it's something that every time I go there, and it's something that I look forward to every time that we drive into the gates. And I haven't been at Sand Life for a long time, but I've been there for a little bit now, and the coaches are amazing, and I improved so much. So I've won my first volleyball tournament because of them, and I enjoy every second there, and they've been very welcoming ever since I've been there, and I really love Sand Life.
Thank you for coming down. I appreciate it. Good evening.
I'm Taylor Marks, 7414 Crescent Palm Drive. I've been playing volleyball for about 5 years now, and over the summer last year, I heard Katia and Fernando had gotten a new facility, and we drove in, and it was beautiful. It's the 6 courts, and I'm going to be honest, I have an anxiety disorder, and I've had really rough days sometimes. I will go out onto the court for practice, and it'll just all go away. Like, if we weren't here, I'd be out practicing, or I'd be trying to. I'm kind of hurt right now. But it's amazing, and we need to keep it going.
All right. Thank you so much for coming down. I appreciate it. Yes, sir. Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Chris Marks, 7414 Crescent Palm Drive. I do want to take a little bit different angle real quickly in that in my role, I work at an institution of higher education in the area. And what I do there is I help run recreation programs. And so the research that we have done looking at the benefits of physical activity, regular physical activity for the benefit of college-age students can also be applied to the participants and players that are participating at Sand Life. Specifically, the natural reduction of anxiety, stress, and the improvement of sleep is all demonstrated regularly in scientific research based on regular physical activity, and specifically the opportunities for young women. There are obviously men and women who are practicing here, but the young women who are at this facility that have the opportunity to engage in these activities is a huge benefit to this community. I encourage you to keep it going. Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming down. Yes, ma'am. Good evening.
Julianne Gonzalez, 11410 Bridge Pine Drive, Riverview. I'm a strength and conditioning coach here at Sand Life, and what the Saavedras and Mr. Nguyen have provided is a feeder program for beach volleyball, which is now an NCAA sport that you can get college scholarship for. We need more feeder programs like this in the area, and having a place where kids can come get healthy, work together, things that have already been stated. They have a unique location where we don't have to drive all the way to the beach. People need this space to be open, and I'm happy to support them.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Yes, sir. Good evening.
Good evening, Madam Here. Master Scott Sheridan, 711 Argyle Place, Temple Terrace, Florida, 33617. I think when I've said at this podium quite a bit, it's the first time I've ever been here as a father and as a resident as opposed to representing an applicant. So it's a little different for me. I think what we're looking at here tonight is trying to fit a square peg in a round hole, trying to apply the commercial neighborhood use, which is the only parent zoning category you have, to fit this use is difficult. To look at it from staff and planning commission's perspective, I can understand their findings of inconsistency when you're trying to look at it through that lens. I think what you clearly heard tonight from a compatibility concern, the residents around immediately adjacent to this property clearly don't have a compatibility concern. The findings of staff relative to some of the environmental concerns, EPC and your Conservation Lands Management did not object to this application. In fact, one gentleman mentioned, I would submit to you, this sand volleyball court will do more for water quality than what would be compatible at this location. As you know, this is in a Res 9 future land use category. You could put 45 apartments on this property, which would be consistent with the surrounding zoning from what we're hearing. I venture to guess that would not be compatible with the existing single-family uses. That would certainly create more environmental consequence to the property. It would definitely burden and impact the floodplain that staff has brought to your attention, and clearly would generate a lot more traffic impact and concerns that were raised in the staff report. So looking at this project through the lens of what it truly is, which is a neighborhood scale use that has significant community support, I think is how we should look at it, and not just as an intense commercial use that doesn't meet locational criteria. As a father, I'd ask for your support so that these girls and boys can continue to play at this facility. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. If you could please sign in. All right. That concludes testimony in support. Is there anyone in opposition to this application? All right. Seeing no one, Mr. Grady, anything further?
Just to point out, if anybody has questions regarding final oral argument, reserved right to speak to the board, they can speak to Fernando Quinones after they close the hearing. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much. We will go back to the applicant for rebuttal. Mr. Pressman.
Madam Hearing Officer, we appreciate your time tonight with the staff. I'd like to thank everyone who came down. Again, as you can see, the passion for this project is involves a lot of people and has gone through a lot of people, and it's become a thing that is important for people's families and for the community. Listening to staff comments, I think it's a classic compare and contrast. You heard the staffs, who do a great job, talk about primarily residential impacts, concerns about how it will be compatible. But the reality is, you heard from one gentleman here tonight, Patrick, who said that he has never, that this site, you cannot find a better neighbor, that has been changed for the good. You heard on video clips from a couple residents, and hearing officer, these are residents who are literally directly abutting on that street that we showed you, indicating that this use works fine, it does not impact them. You also heard from the Planning Commission a number of policies, but again, there was not one comment made about a very important chapter in the comp plan about recreation open space. And that executive summary alone talks about public and private providing these type of uses and services for the exact result that you heard here tonight. And I think Scott made a good point about really, in summary, trying to find the square peg in a round hole, what this use really is and how it works. And clearly we demonstrated to you that it does work very well, that there are no compatibility concerns. Issues of wetlands are being worked through. They're working very closely with Krista Kelly. They're working through those steps, and of course they're going to have to respect those. So in respect to the folks who came down tonight and the hard work they've done, we appreciate your time and consideration. Happy to answer any questions you might have.
You've answered them. Thank you for your time
Thank
and
you.
testimony. With that, we'll close rezoning 19-0595 and go to the next case.
The next item is agenda item D3, rezoning application 19-0775. The applicant is Jonathan Moreno. The request is rezoned from AS1 and CG, commercial general to commercial general. Annie Barnes with county staff will provide staff recommendation after presentation by the
Good
applicant.
evening.
Good evening. Jonathan Marino, 1426 Shellflower Drive, Brandon.
All right, if you could just tell us a little bit about your request.
So we have the property at 5474 Williams Road in Seffner. It's currently split zoned. It's AS1 and CG. We're looking to add square footage to our building, like do an addition, and the AS1 portion of the property is maxing out our FAR available. So to rezone the whole thing to CG will allow the square footage we need on our building.
I see. All right, well, thank you
That's
very
it.
much. Appreciate it. If you could please sign in with the clerk's office. Development Services.
Annie Barnes, Development Services. Rezoning 19-0775 is a request to rezone approximately 0.2 acres of the subject parcel located at 5474 Williams Road from AS1 to CG, which is AS1 is agricultural single family and commercial general. The property currently has a split zoning of 1.1 acres of the CG and then approximately 0.2 acres of the AS1. The immediate adjacent area uses are comprised of detached single-family dwellings, a motel, beverage store, discount auto store, towing company, and a contractor's office. The subject property has approximately 8,000 square feet of existing offices and workspaces, all allowable uses in the CG zoning district. The applicant is seeking to expand the current building by 5,000 square feet. A floor area ratio of 0.27 in the CG zoning district is necessary to expand. Based on the existing zoning and development patterns of the area, staff finds the rezoning compatible and finds the request approvable. And I'll be here if you have any questions.
I don't at this time, but thank you. Planning Commission.
Melissa Leinhard, Planning Commission staff. The subject property is located in the urban mixed-use 20 future land use category. It is in the urban service area, and it is also located within the limits of the Seffner Mango Community Plan. The proposed zoning is allowed within and is consistent with the urban mixed-use 20 future land use category. The UMU 20 future land use category is one of the most intensive land use classifications available within unincorporated Hillsborough County. The applicant is making this request with the intention of increasing the floor area ratio for an additional 5,000 square feet. With a floor area ratio of the site can be considered for up to 48,787 square feet of non-residential uses. The floor area ratio that is being requested is well below the maximum that can be considered for the site. There is a mixture of uses within the surrounding development pattern. The parcel located to the south of the subject site is zoned agricultural single-family 1 and is developed with a single-family residence. The pond located within the southern portion of the site, as shown on the survey that was provided by the applicant, should act as a buffer and help to mitigate the proposed use from the existing residence. Other uses surrounding the site include light commercial uses to the north and west, developed with an auto parts store, convenience store, and a motel. The proposed use would complement the surrounding development pattern and is therefore consistent with Objective 16, Policy 16.1, 16.2, and 16.3 of the future land use element with regard to compatibility. The proposed rezoning is also consistent with the future land use policy, which calls for 16.5, which calls for higher intensity development along arterials and collector roadways. The site is within the limits of the Seffner Mango Community Plan, which supports infill and redevelopment while providing compatibility to the surrounding uses. And based upon those considerations, Planning Commission staff finds the proposed rezoning consistent with the future of Hillsborough Comprehensive Plan for unincorporated Hillsborough County.
Great, thank you so much. Is there anyone that would like to speak in support? Anyone in favor? Seeing no one, anyone in opposition? No one. All right, county staff. Anything else, sir? Anything further?
That's it.
All right, thank you very much. Then we'll close rezoning 19-0775 and go to the next case.
The next item is agenda item E1, major mod application 18-1493. The request is rezoned from, it's a major modification to existing plan development to added second development option. I will note for the record that this item is going to be heard at the July 23rd BOCC land use meeting. Your recommendation will be due on July 5th, and oral argument deadline will be July 15th. So again, the BOCC hearing date for this item will be 7/23 with a filing date of 7/5 for your recommendation, and the oral argument filing deadline of July 15th. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening. Thank you, Brian, for bringing that up. Good evening. I'm Kevin Manier with the Genesis Group, and I'm assisting the Kim family in the development of their property at the northwest corner of Lacey Road and US 41 in Apollo Beach. The request is to allow as a second option up to 380 residential dwelling units with a commensurate reduction in commercial square footage. The subject properties are designated Suburban Mixed Use 6, SMU 6, and Res 6. Both allow a full range of residential uses, but as SMU 6 is a mixed-use category, a second use needs to be provided and be at least 10% of the land, or 7.1 acres. Our option 2 proposes 2 development pods. Pod A is 7.8 acres in size and proposes commercial general uses. Pod B is proposed for single-family, villa, or townhomes with specific standards provided for each on the site plan. Commercial uses will meet conventional CG development standards, but we have some additional architectural requirements that are in the conditions. Option 2 is expected to generate significantly fewer impacts than the currently approved 135,000 square feet of commercial, 90,000 square feet of office, and 255 multifamily apartments that are approved there today. The original rezoning dates back to 2004 and has never been changed or modified. It was expected that this area would need to have a significant amount of non-residential development, as the Lacey US 41 intersection was expected to be the entrance to Waterset, a very large mixed-use project to the east. Since then, internet purchasing has dramatically changed retail habits, and Waterset has moved their US 41 entrance to the north to align with Apollo Beach Boulevard. Thus, this major mod is a downzoning. In essence, we consider it a downzoning, and option 2 will reflect existing development patterns within South Shore Falls, which is to the north, and Mirror Bay, which is to the west and the south. While Gulf and Sea and Lacey separate the project from Mirror Bay, a large ditch separates the project from South Shore Falls, a gated single-family and villa project to the north. This ditch will be enhanced as part of the development to the site and will serve as a buffer between South Shore Falls and the project. Access points will remain in similar locations to previously approved, but fewer in number to reflect the reduced amount of development. Connectivity is preserved between the pods and to the larger road network with shared public right-in, right-out access on US 41, serving both the commercial and the residential pods. Other transportation conditions are also updated to reflect new regulations that have been into effect since 2004. The Kim family is with me tonight if you have any questions for them. They've owned it for decades. I also have with me tonight our traffic engineer if you have any questions of him. Before I conclude, I'd like to submit into the record a few conditions that need tweaking. We've agreed to a minimum lot width of 50 feet, minimum lot size of 5,000 square feet for any single-family houses, but these conditions, as staff has written, also require a 20-foot rear yard setback. We believe this is an oversight because we ask, and have always asked since our original application, for 10. Builders really like a 10-foot rear yard setback. It allows for greater options in the placement of a pool, our patio, our courtyard, master bedroom, pool, bathroom, location of the lanai, etc. Staff is in agreement with our request to change that condition to allow a 10-foot rear yard setback, except along that northern boundary, they'd like a 15-foot rear yard setback to reflect the conditions that are in South Shore Falls, our project to the north. And we don't have a problem with that. So I've got revised conditions that state that. The second change pertains to right-of-way reservation along US 41. There's been numerous studies and meetings with FDOT since our 2004 original rezoning that indicate that they can widen that road within the existing right-of-way, and this right-of-way reservation is no longer necessary. And I think that was another oversight, and so we're asking to have that condition deleted too.
Can you point me to that condition number?
It is old condition 36, new condition 42.
Condition 42.
All right? Yeah, old condition, yeah, they don't number the pages, but it's old condition 36, new condition 42. And it dates back from 15 years ago, and back then it was like, talked about dedicating, which was the word for reserve. But since then, they've had a SEER study and other analysis, and they can build their road, they can widen the road within the existing right-of-way.
And so, I mean, again, I guess we can ask Transportation County staff when they come up, but you obviously can document that.
Yes, we do. Yeah, we have, my traffic guy has documentation of that.
Okay.
And it's also in the file.
All right. All right, thank you. Does that conclude your presentation?
Yeah, just let me hand in my conditions.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely, there's time. Good evening.
Good evening. Steve Henry, Links & Associates, 5023 West Laurel, Tampa, 33607. What I'm going to hand to you is actually a copy of the PD&E study that was done. It showed that no right-of-way was required. And in addition to that, I have an email that is dated May 31st from the project manager with DOT that acknowledges that the PD&E study was done in 2009 and said that there was no additional right-of-way required along 41.
Okay.
So I'll hand these in, and that gives you the documentation that you need to show that that's why we're changing that condition.
All right.
Back when it was originally zoned, they didn't have that PD&E study done yet, so
I
it's been
see.
done since then.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right. Mr. Manier, does that conclude your presentation? All right. Thank you very much. All right, we'll call for Development Services.
Brian Grady, Hillsborough County Development Services. The project is located in the Apollo Beach community and currently zoned PD to allow for residential and non-residential uses in a traditional neighborhood design layout using both vertical and horizontal integration. The 71-acre site is located at the northwest corner of Lacey Road and US 41 and is with both the SMU 6 and Red 6 future land use categories. The applicant proposes to add a second development option using only horizontal integration. Option 2 will allow for a maximum of 380 single-family attached or villa units. Commercial and office uses will be developed along the eastern boundary fronting US Highway 41. Horizontal integration will be achieved through vehicular and pedestrian connections that do not require travel on Lacey Road or US Highway 41 to access the second land use. The original PD was approved in 2004 when more non-resident uses in the area were anticipated. The level of detail and integration found in option 1 was proposed by the applicant to substantiate the amount of commercial being proposed, which didn't meet locational criteria at the time. Since 2004, the area has not experienced the growth it anticipated anticipated, and therefore the amount of commercial square footage in option 2 has been reduced and now meets locational criteria. The second option will continue to provide access along U.S. Highway 41, Lacey Road, and Gulf and Sea Boulevard. Transportation staff has reviewed the request and offers no objections, subject to conditions. No design exceptions are associated with this request. Staff finds the modification to be compatible with the area, which is developed with single-family uses to the immediate north and west. Commercial has been located along US 41 as previously approved. No objections were received by reviewing agencies, and staff recommends approval. And again, staff has no objections to the revisions of the conditions as submitted by the applicant, including the transportation. Yes,
both revisions?
correct.
Okay,
Yes.
perfect. All right, thank you so much. Planning Commission.
Melissa Leinhard, Planning Commission staff. The subject property is located in the residential 6 and the suburban mixed-use 6 future land use categories. It is in the urban service area and is also located within the limits of the Apollo Beach Community Plan and the South Shore Area-wide Systems Plan. The proposed use allowing a second development option would allow for a use that is comparable and compatible to the existing development surrounding the subject property. The proposed use is meeting all intensity and density requirements per policy 1.2 of the comprehensive plan. This policy states that all development and redevelopment within the urban service area shall occur at a density of at least 75% of the allowable density of the plan category unless the development meets the criteria of policy 1.3, which are exceptions to minimum density requirements. The proposed options are consistent with this policy. Projects that are 20 acres in size or greater in the suburban mixed-use 6 future land use category must demonstrate a mix of land uses in accordance with future land use policy 19.1. The site plan is designed with a mixture of uses and is demonstrating detailed integration, connectivity, and internal relationships of uses on the site and is therefore consistent with policy direction. Pedestrian and vehicular connections are required per conditions, meeting the intent of the community design component and its various connectivity policies. The Apollo Beach Community Plan encourages a range of housing choices. The proposed modification is consistent with this policy direction. Based upon those considerations, Planning Commission staff finds the proposed modification consistent with the future of Hillsborough Comprehensive Plan for unincorporated Hillsborough County, subject to the conditions proposed by Development Services.
All right, thank you so much. Is there anyone that would like to speak in support? Anyone in favor? Seeing no one, anyone in opposition? Yes, ma'am. While she's coming up, anybody else? All right.
Karen Mahalski, 7903 West Whitewater Court. I'm in opposition to this because there is a coastal high hazard, and I believe that that should be protected. Objective 13, new development and redevelopment shall not adversely impact environmental sensitive areas and other significant natural systems that described and required within the conservation and aqua recharge element and coastal management elements of the comprehensive plan. And there's other policies there that I don't need to read. They're listed here. And then I also have pages from that part. The other is the community plans for South Shore. The number one is transportation objective. I don't believe that this is being properly addressed, as well as the environmental objective. For Apollo Beach, yes, the enhanced community character, support continued acquisition of environmental sensitive lands by ELAP. So the coastal high hazard, I believe, should be protected. I don't think there's a need for development on a coastal high hazard area. And then maintain canal systems, establish stormwater management facilities that will protect the canals from silt occurring during development runoffs. As we start developing more and more an area, how is the proper storm management being addressed to not adversely affect systems already in place? Thank you.
Thank you. If you could please sign in. All right, with no one else in opposition, we'll go back to county staff. Anything further? Mr. Manier.
Thank you, Kevin Manier, representing the applicant. With all due respect, we're completely surrounded by identical development. This is not an ELAP candidate site. There's nothing environmental on it. We have a couple of surface waters, but there are no wetlands at all on this site. And we are going to meet all the rules and regulations, and including running sewer and water.
You're not asking for a waiver of any coastal high hazard regulations?
We're not asking for a waiver of anything.
All right, thank you so much.
And as a matter of fact, we will meet the current FEMA rules too, which change from time to time.
Thank you for your testimony.
If you have any questions, I can. Thank
All
you.
right, that was it. Thank you so much. We'll
And I would
close.
just like to
Yes.
point out that Fernando Quinones is available for the speaker to answer questions
Okay.
regarding oral argument.
Absolutely. All right, then with that, we will close major modification 18-1493 and go to the next case.
The next item is agenda item E2, major mod application 18-1494. The request is for a major modification to existing plan development to provide a second development option. As with the prior case, this will be heard at the 7/23 Board of County Commissioners Land Use Meeting. The report filing deadline will be July 5th, and the oral argument filing deadline will be July 15th. I'll provide staff recommendation after presentation by the applicant.
Okay.
Good evening. I'm Kevin Manier with the Genesis Group, and I'm also assisting the Kim family in the development on their other property at the northeast. They own both sides of this street. Two completely different rezonings done at two different times, but they're modifying them both now. This request is to allow, as a second option, up to 286 residential dwelling units with a commensurate reduction in commercial square footage. This major mod pertains only to the 53.8 acres that the Kim family owns and does not include the previously approved and permitted Lacey Road extension easement, which I'll discuss in a minute. As with the west, the subject parcels are designated suburban mixed use 6, which requires 2 uses. The second use has to be at least 10% of the land, or 5.4 acres. Our option 2 proposes 2 development pods. Pod A is 6 acres, proposed for commercial general uses. Pod B is again proposed for single-family villa or townhouses with specific standards for each. The commercial uses, like with the west, will meet conventional CG development standards, but we have a couple of additional architectural standards too. As with Kim West, option 2 is expected to generate significantly fewer impacts than the currently approved 132,000 square feet of commercial, 81,000 square feet of office, and 236 multifamily apartments. The original rezoning dates to 2006, has never been changed. As discussed before, reality has changed, the needs of retail has changed, the whole performance of that intersection has changed. It is not to be what it was before. And basically, this is a downzoning, just like on the other side of the street, reflecting current realities. The Lacey Road extension along the southern boundary of the Kim property is not part of this major modification, but the part formerly owned by the Kims is crosshatched on your plans. This area is owned by NMP South Bend 2 LLC, which are the developers of Waterset, the project to the east. They are no longer required to construct this road because they moved their main access up to line up with Apollo Beach Boulevard. And they changed their DRI and everything to remove this road from their requirements. So this road is off their requirements, as their plan. But recognizing that Lacey Road Extension Corridor still exists and still could provide benefit in the future as a possible secondary road to Waterset, or for access either to the applicant's property or the property owner of the south, an easement and restrictive covenant document, which is BK 22813 in pages 1654 to 1672, was recorded that provided that they, as well as the applicant or the owners to the south, may construct this road or a portion thereof commensurate with their development. And I'll submit this document into the record. These plans and alignment for this road, including the Lacey US 41 intersection, were approved by the Florida Department of Transportation several years ago and were just reaffirmed with minor upgrades at a meeting that I had with our traffic consultant with FDOT on February 26, 2019. So the bottom line is, even though Waterset's not going to build the road, we're going to build the portions of it commensurate with our development, so the intersection will still perform. So basically, we're still honoring the agreement. Access points, like on the west, will remain similar locations, but fewer in number to reflect the reduced amount. And again, the Kim family's tonight with me, as well as our traffic engineer. And again, before I conclude, we have those couple of last conditions that need to be changed. With this one, our northern property boundary is industrial. So they're not requiring the 15-foot extra setback, but they are in agreement with a 10-foot rear yard setback, so we can get, have greater options on the placement of the pool, patio, courtyard, location of the lanai, and stuff like that.
So that condition will not change as proposed?
The condition will change the rear yard setback from 20 to 10.
Ah, I see.
But we won't have that caveat for the 15 feet
northern-
along, yeah, because
Understood.
on this one, our north is industrial.
Understood.
The second change pertains to right-of-way along US 41. Again, like on the other side of the street, they can build the road, and then they don't need the existing right-of-way. And also, there was a provision that says that within our site plan, we had to provide for reservation for LICE. We have done that, in essence, by acknowledging the existing easement in the existing road, which reflects perfectly the existing approved FDOT plans, where we've acknowledged the alignment. So there's no need to put that on the plan. It's already on the plan.
Which condition is that? Point
It's
me to
not
that.
a condition. It was at the very beginning where it says, these are the things that you're going to have to do to submit to make a plan for. And there's something that says you have to provide reservation for LICE, and something that you have to provide reservation for US 41. We don't have to do it for 41, and it's already been done for LICE. So
It's a right-of-way preservation lines along 41 and LICE to be delineated on the plan for option 2, and you're saying that's not necessary?
That's correct.
I see.
That's correct. The easement reflects exactly that alignment.
Okay.
And then 41 we've already talked about.
Okay.
And I've got conditions that say that. Oh, and I've got one more thing. The word stake is in Stake Tomato Road. It's a road on the northern boundary of our property. It's stake as in the ground, not steak as in steak and potatoes. And that's a typo that needs to be fixed.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. Development Services.
Brian Grady, Hillsborough County Development Services. The project is located in the Palm Beach community to the east of Major Mod 181493, and like Major Mod 181493 is currently zoned PD to allow for residential and non-residential uses in a traditional neighborhood design layout using both vertical and horizontal integration. The 57-acre site is located at the northeast corner of LICE Road and US Highway 41 and is within the SMU 6 future land use category. The applicant proposes to add a second development option using only horizontal integration. Option 2 will allow for a maximum of 286 single-family detached, single-family attached, or villa units. Commercial office uses will be developed in the southwest corner of the site along US Highway 41 and LICE Road. To meet the requirement for providing horizontal integration, the project is designed to provide for vehicular and pedestrian connections that do not require travel on LICE Road or US Highway 41 to access the second land use. This project was originally approved in 2006, providing 3 land uses with both vertical and horizontal integration in a traditional neighborhood design style. An exception to location required was necessary and was approved with recommendations of support by the planning commission staff. Like the previous application, the area was not intensified as expected. Therefore, a more scaled-down option is proposed. No waiver to the location criteria is needed under this proposal. The section option will continue to provide access along US Highway 41 and LICE Road. The access point along LICE Road is located within a tract and is currently not developed as right-of-way. The applicant has demonstrated to staff that an easement to the developer provides the right to construct this access within that area. Transportation staff has reviewed this request and offers no objections subject to conditions. No design exceptions are associated with this request. No compatibility issues were identified by staff for the second development option, and no objections were received by reviewing agencies. Therefore, staff recommends approval, and staff also has no objections to the revised conditions as proposed by the applicant.
The revised condition and also the requirements for certification, the deletion of that number 3. Okay,
Correct.
perfect. Planning Commission.
Melissa Leinhard, Planning Commission staff. The subject property is located in the suburban mixed-use 6 future land use category. It is in the urban zone and the South Shore area-wide systems plan. The applicant is proposing a major modification for a second development option. Allowing the second development option would allow development that is compatible with the surrounding development pattern and is also consistent with the suburban mixed-use 6 future land use category. Projects that are 20 acres in size or greater must demonstrate a mix of land uses in accordance with future land use policy 19.1. The mix of uses must demonstrate detailed integration, scale, diversity, and internal relationships of uses on the site, and this applicant is consistent with this policy. To ensure an integrated mixed-use development, Planning Commission staff finds the request consistent with the following requirements that have been included as conditions proposed by Development Services. One being vehicular and pedestrian interconnectivity shall be provided between all portions of the project, and the second being all commercial structures will be architecturally finished. The Apollo Beach Community Plan encourages a range of housing choices, and the proposed modification is consistent with this policy direction. Based upon those considerations, Planning Commission staff finds the proposed modification consistent with the future of Hillsborough Comprehensive Plan for unincorporated Hillsborough County, subject to the conditions proposed by Development Services.
All right, thank you very much. Is there anyone that would like to testify in support? Anyone in favor? Seeing no one, anyone in opposition? No one? Okay, Mr. Grady. Anything else? Mr. Manier?
Just, I'd like to give you a copy of the FDOT approval when we had our pre-app, as well as a copy of the easement.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much. If you could submit that into the record as well. Thank you. All right, does that complete your rebuttal comments?
Yes, ma'am. Thank
Perfect.
you.
All right, then we'll close major modification 18-1494.
The next
Go to
item is agenda item E3, rezoning application 19-0436. The applicant is Timothy H. Powell. The request is rezoned from AR and AS1 to Plan Development. Israel Monsanto will provide staff recommendation after presentation by the applicant.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, for the record, I'm Timothy H. Powell, president of TSB Companies, Inc. Our address is Post Office Box 1016, Tampa, Florida 33601-1016. I'm the spokesperson tonight for the property owner's representative, Cassidy Homes LLC. I'm sorry, Cassidy Holdings LLC. The project design team that participated in this development PD zoning are Rennie Heath of Cassidy Holdings LLC, representative, TSP Companies, Inc., including myself and David Wright, planners and case managers, Absolute Engineering, Heath, Heather Wirtz, and Dave Ford, civil and drainage engineering, site planning, and Links and Associates, Steve Henry, transportation analysis. Tonight, I am presenting a residential plan development, PD rezoning, developed under the comprehensive plans Plan Village RP2 land use category, the livable communities elements, Baum Community Plan, and the Land Development Codes, Plan Development, and Plan Village criteria. The property is located on the south side of Baum Road, County Road 672, west of McGrady Road, in the Baum community. The property has direct and primary points of access to Baum Road, i.e. County Road 672, via a newly created internal collector roadway and to McGrady Road. Due to the amount of previously submitted documentation supporting this project, I will limit my presentation by presenting the following summary of submitted supporting documentation, noting that I am referencing and requesting the entire county zoning file under RZ 19-0436 be considered a part of the record of this hearing, as well as the text version of this presentation. My presentation will be followed by Links and Associates, Steve Henry, or actually Steve Henry is here if you have any questions about the submitted traffic studies. The proposed PD rezoning is within the comprehensive plan's designation of RP2, which allows 2 units per acre under residential clustering and Plan Village requirements stated under Comprehensive Plan Policies 33.5 through 33.11 and the Land Development Codes Plan Development and Plan Village Development criteria under Land Development Codes sections 5.03 and 5.04.02. A summary of the property's site data and the proposed entitlements are included in the attached project narrative, which is actually in the project narratives submittal that was part of the file record and is noted on the general site development plan. Highlights are the 449.54 acre site is comprised of 17 properties that are currently zoned agricultural residential AR and located within the residential plan RP2 future land use category. The proposed Plan Village is located within the rural service area and is proposed to be served by central water and wastewater systems. The public utilities are proposed to be extended by the developer at no cost to the county per policy 4.7 of the comprehensive plan. All roads within the PD are proposed to be public. The PD zoning's proposed entitlements are 899 single-family detached units, 18,204.75 square feet of neighborhood commercial shopping, 34.5 acre village node, 25 acre public K through 8 school site, 3.92 acres of open space and public use. And there's a note on that particular 3.92 acres of open space that the open space use parcel is on County Road 672 and is possible for public use in the future. The applicant has been in conversations with the county real estate and fire departments. They are looking for a fire station site in the Baum community, but are not in a position to commit at this time, but have indicated that the county will need a site in the Baum community in the future. Going back to the description of the entitlements, there's also a 26.7 acre open space and village greens and 31 acres of environmental preservation and stormwater management properties. Under the comprehensive plan minimum requirements under policy 33.5 through 33.11, the clustering ratio estimate is open space village greens is plus or minus 26.7 acres, which is 5.9% of the total site. Collector roadways and landscape buffer areas are approximately 20.7 acres, which is 4.6% of the total site. Village nodes is approximately 34.5 acres or 7.7% of the total site. Net residential use areas is 226.8 acres. Clustered residential density is 899 dwelling units divided by the 226.8 acres, which comes out to be 3.96 dwelling units per acre. The neighborhood commercial shopping is 18,204.75 square feet. Under planned village development data criteria, the land development, as stated in the land development code sections 5.04.02, design rules, village nodes, required neighborhood commercial shopping is 18,204.75 square feet, which was required and was provided. The percentage of residential units located within 1/2 mile of the village node is 90.4% and 90% was required. Open space and buffering percentage of planned village with Waimama 250-foot wide buffer, 70% is required, 70% was required, 76% was provided. The percentage of units with views across open space, it's averaging 65%, 50% was required. Community gathering areas is 44,950 square feet as per Land Development Code section 6.02.18. The school site, developer will provide floodplain compensation for any required impacts on any designated school site or deliver 25 non-floodplain site acres for any designated school site. We will be submitting an email that came in actually just yesterday from, I know that's on a Sunday, but from the Hillsborough County School Board staff that has indicated that the school site may actually now, they may be interested in moving up the schedule for the school site. And we will be cooperating with them on that request, if approved. Phasing. The PD will be phased and will comply with Land Development Code Section 5.04.02D, phasing, and no alternative phasing schedule is requested. The applicant is proffering to voluntarily dedicate and convey to the county an additional 25 feet of public road right-of-way on the south side of Baum Road, also known as 672, along the PD's Baum Road frontage. The applicant is not requesting any planned development variations for site design. The subject property is located in unincorporated Hillsborough County and is required to pay county parks and school impact fees and transportation mobility fees. The development team has spent extensive time over the past 7 months preparing for this hearing and providing a comprehensive, competent, and substantial expert review and analysis of the proposed entitlements. RZ 19-0436 has achieved full compliance with the criteria of the county's comprehensive plan village designation of RP2s. Also, the plan's livable communities element, the BOM community plan, and the land development codes, plan village and plan development and plan village criteria, and the county's transportation technical manual, as well as the county's environmental regulations and the needs of the Hillsborough County School District. Due to the limited presentation time, I respectfully request the hearing officer rely upon the rezoning file record for the previously mentioned competent and substantial applicant reports and documentation in County Development Services staff's conditions and recommendations, in both their and the Planning Commission staff's competent and substantial determination that the proposed PD zoning is deemed to be consistent with the comprehensive plan and has been found to be compliant with the Land Development Code and to be approvable with conditions. To date, we have not had any active citizen neighborhood organization opposition to this development, but obviously the Baum Civic Association is here tonight to relate their concerns. We were contacted by and met with the Baum Civic Association on April 8th, 2019, at which time traffic and land use compatibility concerns were expressed. And they were also addressed at that particular meeting with detailed explanations. Representatives attending were Michael Fabro, Vice President Buddy Harrell, and Treasurer Secretary Lisa Hast. We were requested to follow up meeting with Mr. Fabro, and we attempted to contact him but received no response. We recently were contacted with Mr. Harwell on June 14th to confirm that the meeting would be held tonight. I also had conversations with Mr. Harwell tonight just to touch base with him, but no specific issues were discussed. All of the above referenced professional, competent, and substantial expert testimony and documentation has been provided by the applicant to the county and EPC and responded to culminating in this rezoning coming forth tonight being universally supported by all reviewing regulatory agencies and county departments. Based on the reference submitted documentation, I respectfully request your recommendation for approval for RZ 19-0436. I'm here to answer any questions that you may have, as well as Mr. Henry is here, and Mr. Rennie Heath is also here.
All right, thank you so much. You answered my questions through your presentation. Development Services, please. You could sign in, please. Good evening.
Good evening, Sir Monsanto Development Services. I will go to the overhead to project some pictures. As the applicant stated, the request tonight is to rezone 449 acres from agricultural rural AR to planned development, specifically the planned village design for properties within the RP2 residential planned village future land use category. The map that you have in front of you is the future land use map, and the highlighted site in the middle of it is the subject site. The light yellow is the residential planned village future land use category. The PD zoning proposed entitlements are 899 single-family detached units, 18,204.75 square feet of neighborhood commercial, a 25-acre public K-8 school site, and a public use or open space parcel along Baum Road. The project is located on the south side of County Road 672, approximately 1 mile west of Baum River Road in Riverview. The site is located outside the urban service area. Since the project exceeds 1 dwelling per 5 gross acres, this rezoning petition requires approval of a planned development rezoning that clearly demonstrates compliance with the planned village criteria established within the comprehensive plan and in accordance with the Land Development Code, LDC Part 504, planned village. As the applicant stated, there are 9 design rules that all planned village has to meet. These are utilities. The development will be on a central sewer system, which is served by an advanced wastewater treatment. There are assumptions also, which requires the site to have neighborhood commercial based on a calculation from the comprehensive plan and also the Land Development Code. The project is not requesting any deviation or waiver from those requirements. There's also a land use. Per the submitted PD plan, the project will be divided between the village proper, open space, and agricultural open space. The graphic that you have in front of you, let me zoom out. So the land uses being proposed in compliance with the code are the village node, which is the purple color. There is also the open agricultural green space, which is the light green areas. And the facing, as the applicant stated, there is no deviation from the facing. The site will be required to provide the commercial uses, 75% of the commercial uses for certificate of occupancies for the residential components. Location of uses, the PD shows the village node located centrally to the project in accordance with the requirement of the planned village. On-site commercial and office uses will be located together to form the single village node, and the main internal road will run through it. In the event this rezoning petition is approved, for a public use, if a public use is proposed on the 3.92 acres along Bank Road, the developer shall be required to modify the planned development. The developer will provide documentation demonstrating governmental regulations preclude the location of such use within or adjacent to the village node. As the applicant stated, there is some possibility that there is a governmental use being proposed on that location. However, the applicant acknowledged that they have to come back to modify the PD and provide proper documentation to meet it. The arrangement of uses, uses are provided within the proposed PD, are arranged in a compact manner. More than 90% of the residential units are located within half a mile, so this is the radius located, this is the half-mile radius. 90.4% of the residential units are located within the village node. Additionally, 65% of the residential dwelling units are arranged with views across the open spaces. The immediate area today consists of farms and residential homes in agricultural land. The subject site is mostly bounded west and south by ELAP property, Environmental Lands Acquisition and Protection Program. Large tracts of lands to the east are a mix of fish farms and single-family homes. Further to the west, 1.25 miles along County Road 672, new residential subdivisions, the Highlands and Carlton Lakes, are being developed in the residential Res 4 and residential Plan 2 RP2 future land use designations. The proposed project is being developed in accordance with the Comprehensive Plan Objective 33 and with the design rules found in the Land Development Code, Part 5.04. Again, per the submitted narrative and general development site, the project meets the perimeter buffer requirements, the village node location, the minimum clustering ratio. The total of the overall residential density will be at 2 dwelling units per the acre in compliance with the planned village. The node will have the minimum retail space required by the comprehensive plan. The project will comply also with the phasing requirement prior to issuance of building permits for more than 75% of the residential units. Certificates of occupancy will need to be issued for a minimum of 50% of the required on-site neighborhood retail. Connectivity with surrounding road system is being provided by the provision of 7 access points along Bank Road, McGrady, and McGrady Road to the east. Other access points are being proposed to allow for future road expansions or connections to adjacent sites. The main arterial road crossing through the project would also provide future connectivity to sites to the northwest. The applicant also has agreed to provide architectural standards and design for the units. Although the closest residential subdivisions to the site is located 1/2 mile, nearby residential projects are being developed today, located within the RP2 future land use designation. Additionally, the project will be consistent with all the policies from Objective 33 of the Comprehensive Plan and all design rules from the Land Development Code. No deviations or waivers are being requested. We have received no objection from other reviewing agencies, and based on all the above, staff finds the proposed rezoning request approval with conditions. I'm available if you have any questions.
No, you answered. That's a very thorough staff report. Thank you very much. Planning Commission.
Melissa Leinhard, Planning Commission staff. The subject property is located in the Residential Plan 2 future land use category. It is in the rural area, and it is also located within the limits of the Balm Community Plan and the South Shore Area-Wide Systems Plan. The proposed plan development is consistent with and an allowable use within the Residential Plan 2 future land use category. The proposed plan development will utilize the planned village concept to develop a rural village consisting of 899 single-family homes, residential support uses, and a commercial node. The request for a maximum of 18,204 square feet of retail located within the village node is consistent with the RP2 future land use category, which requires non-residential development to be located within the village node internal to the project. The requested design standards for smaller lot sizes within the planned village is also consistent with the RP2 future land use category, which requires clustering in order to prevent urban sprawl, provide for the efficient provision of infrastructure, preservation of open space, and the protection of the environment. Open space will be well distributed throughout the site and locations including a village green and the recreational areas. Achieving road connectivity is an important component of planned villages, and the site plan demonstrates roadway connectivity in multiple locations, meeting the intent of future land use element policy 33.11. The applicant is meeting the vision of the Balm Community Plan by preserving open spaces throughout the site, as well as preserving views to those open spaces. Based upon those considerations, Planning Commission staff finds the proposed plan development consistent with the future of Hillsborough Comprehensive Plan for unincorporated Hillsborough County, and that's subject to the conditions proposed by Development Services.
All right, thank you so much. Is there anyone that would like to speak in support? Anyone in favor of the application? Seeing no one, anyone in opposition that would like to speak? All right, so if you can raise your hands, let me get a feel for how many. We have 15 minutes total, so here's 3, 4, 5. Okay, if you could go ahead and line up, we'll say 3 minutes apiece. If you could really stick to that time, given the hour, we'd appreciate it. Good evening.
Karen Mahalski, 7903 West Whitewater Court. Very much opposed to this, and I don't understand why policy 2.2 is not acknowledged. The requirement is shall be examined, the expansion of the USA. Each proposal shall be examined to determine the project meets all of the following. I don't need to list all of them. I would request that you look at policy 2.2 and why that wasn't followed, because it's obviously that it's not. The other is the rural area will provide areas for long-term agricultural uses, the subjective 4 of the comprehensive plan, large lot, low-density rurals, with the goal that no more than 20% of all population growth within the county will occur in the rural area. Again, why do we have to expand this urban service area? It's not required at this time. In the future, yes, but at this time, no. Then the other is the Board of County Commissioners hired or requested the Urban Land Institute to help them with responsible growth. They stated, you will be under enormous pressure over the next 25 years to expand the urban service area. This was December 17th, 2017. Don't do it, Razik said. You have precious resources here that you don't want to squander, because if you lose it, you're gone. Commissioner Pat Kemp, a Democrat, called it a watershed for us. Republican Commissioner Victor Chris said he was skeptical of the exercise at first, but thought the results were well-balanced and realistic. Commissioner Sandy Merman said it was on the board to make it happen. This is a long-term thing we have to commit ourselves to. She said, we've allowed sprawl without having those centers of influence. Yes, this has happened in the past, but we have to stop it because we just can't afford it for our community. The other is that this has strategic habitat conservation areas as well as the 100-year flood. So the 100-year flood is going to start happening. And why is that important? Is because we're just going to have flooded areas, and it's going to be at the county to help these people. In addition to that, this is a strategic aquifer recharge area, which means that 1 to 10 feet per year goes to our Florida aquifer. When we start paving this over, we're going to lose our aquifer. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next, please. Good evening.
Good evening. Buddy Harwell, Sweat Loop Road, Balm, Florida. Can I use the Elmo?
Absolutely. You use a microphone over there as well.
I oppose this, especially for the K through 8 school, being put down a rural road, one way in, one way out. There's 5 dangerous intersections in the area. that you get a cross street intersecting on a curve. You got Baum Waimama, Baum Road here, Andrews, McGrady. County Road 672, Baum Riverview, there's several of them in here. There's a map that actually details which location, and here's where the school's gonna be. So that's gonna be a major safety concern for the children on the school bus and traveling there. The other points I wanna point out are there's 2 packing houses on McGrady and 672 where we have multiple semis coming in and out daily, especially in harvest season, that take up the majority of the road coming down McGrady and 672. It's only a 2-lane road. I do not see anything in their plan that relates to our Dark Skies initiative. That's in our Baum community plan that I will enter into the records. And the 4,000 square foot lots. Diverse mix of housing styles and lot sizes while discouraging suburban scale density. That's in our goals. Also, the Dark Skies initiative that impact the artificial light, allowing residents to enjoy the night sky. In another section right here, low density mix of housing options. And also, there's a section right here that shows we got 1.2 million people in the county, only 800,000 jobs. We need more workforce. We don't need no more houses. Melissa Zornita last year stated we got over 49,000 acres inside the urban service area for development or redevelopment. We don't need anything outside anymore. So I'd like to submit all this into record.
Absolutely. If you could sign in as well. Thank you. Next, please. Good evening.
Good evening. Michael Fabro, 14423 County Road 672 in Waimama. And first off, thank you for what you do. We understand your job. And these guys, we did meet with them. Very nice group, not a problem. I have my phone with me, though. If anyone I want to call them to get a hold of me so I can continue to talk to them. I own my own business. It's always with me. I was not contacted. All right?
Thank you.
This is what I would like to say. It is our belief that the guidelines and intent of HB House Bill 7207 are not being equally considered or implemented. There are certain areas in particular I would like to outline to you. Line 234, it is the intent of this act to focus the state role in managing growth under this act to protecting the functions and important state resources and facilities. It is the intent of this act that local governments have the ability to preserve, enhance, present advantages, encourage the most appropriate use of land, water, and resources consistent with the public interest, not the developers, the entire public. Overcome present handicaps, deal effectively with future problems that may result from use and development of land within their jurisdictions through the process of comprehensive planning. It is intended that units of local government can preserve, promote, protect, and improve the public health, safety. 2-lane road, we're adding a high school, it is a truck route. We have all of Eisenhower now building South Fork. They're proposing 889 houses. In August, they're proposing 1,600 across the street. It is a 2-lane road without shoulders. I don't know how that comes under the safety part. Comfort, good order, appearance, convenience, law enforcement, fire prevention, and general welfare. Facilitate the adequate and efficient provision of transportation, water, sewage, schools, parks, recreation facilities, housing, and other requirements and services, and conserve, develop, and utilize and protect natural resources within their jurisdictions. That's the first one. The provisions of this act and their interpretation and application are declared to be the minimum requirements necessary to accomplish the stated intent, purpose, and objectives of this act to protect human, environmental, social, and economic resources and to maintain, through orderly growth and development, the character and stability of present and future land use and development in this state. Line 326, amendment to local government comprehensive plan. The owner of parcel of land defined as an agricultural enclave under 163.3164 may apply for an amendment to the local government comprehensive plan. Pursuant to that, such amendment is presumed not to be urban sprawl as defined in the code. Land uses and intensities of these are consistent with the uses and commercial intensities and use of industrial, commercial, or residential areas that surround the parcel, not in Riverview, not in Gibson's Inn, not in Bloomingdale, that surround the parcel. What's going to surround 889 houses are farmland. That is not consistent with what surrounds the parcel that they're asking for. And one more. I know you know all this, Brian. We've done this enough, haven't we? 681. In line 681, urban sprawl means a development pattern characterized by low-density, automobile-dependent development with either a single use or multiple use that are not functionally related, requiring the extension of public facilities and service in an inefficient manner and failing to provide a clear separation between urban and rural uses. Line 3476, the capital improvements element shall identify facilities necessary to meet adopted levels of service during a 5-year period. Establish a schedule for financing and construction of transportation projects that will eliminate transportation with deficiencies within a jurisdiction of authority within 10 years after the transportation sufficiency plan adaptation. Fact of the matter is I've been here since 1983. I live in Bloomingdale. Lithia Pinecrest is what, close to 35 years that has not been widened. 92 was Fishhawk, so if you want to do a little math, what's it, 20 some years since that Bell Shoals has been developed, none of which we are meeting the requirements that are within that bill that our county is to provide for us residents that are here. And if you want, if you'd like, if I would like, I'm going to read the last of what I have and then let Al come up. It is well past the time that our county representatives take in consideration all intended portions of HB 7207. Quite frankly, in all fairness to you, Susan, I'm getting tired of hearing about the fact that transportation's not in there, so we're just allowed to build anything. You know, we've heard that. I've been doing this 2.5 years with you now, and that's always the answer. And when I go and met with development, Michael, he told me, yes, if the ditches are there before development, that's the county end or otherwise. I don't know what any of that has to do with the county. Is way far behind providing for the people that live there what is needed to put the developments in place. If you can't keep up with the roads, that's not our problem. That's your problem to figure out how to keep up with the roads to go along with the development, to meet safety and to meet comfort and to meet what's there and lack of light pollution, et cetera. Developments proposed are not consistent with the immediate area. The intent of reasonably conserving lifestyle is being completely negated. The safety of residents and commuters is being degraded and is evident by the incident reports in the past 12 months. Commuting time is 4+ times what it was 1 year ago, resulting in 1 to 2 additional hours away from home, which is completely inconsistent with maintaining and improving family life. The county is failing miserably with keeping its responsibility outlined in HB 7207 in regards to infrastructure. The continued argument that the requests are consistent or compatible with Hillsborough County's comprehensive plan is blatant evidence that the plan is either too vague or needs to be revised. I've lived here since 1983 when the Air Force stationed me here at MacDill for 7 years. The quality of life has been drastically degraded. I've been doing this for the past 2 years now with the county. A high percent of the opposition is identical, largely involving transportation at every one of these meetings that I have been at. So the question is, when are you going to address that? Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah.
Oh, and one person that could not be here, Donna Driggers, would like to submit this, so I give it to her.
Yeah,
correct?
you can submit it into the record. Yes, sir, and please
sir,
sign in.
Thank you for your time.
Next, please.
Good evening, Council. My name is Alfred Bruner. I live at 15006 Carlton Lake Road and have moved here post-retirement, unlike Mike, to take a job at McDill. Since then, I don't think I could take a job at McDill due to the commute times and the unabated explosive growth that addresses our infrastructure. So I am here in opposition to zoning number 19-0436. Safety, number one concern. You go into these new developments, compressed roads, they're not barely big enough to handle 2 lanes of traffic, let alone somebody parking there, and then trying to get first responders in there. I know, I go to these because my kids go to friends that live there. I could barely get my car through, let alone imagine an ambulance, a fire truck, multiple police cars. The main roads, the infrastructure, supporting background, they don't have the load capacity, on-ramps. Just to get to this meeting tonight took me over 12 minutes sitting at the light. And that's going counterflow to rush hour traffic. So the roads are at saturation, no improvements as Mike highlighted. Commercial road bullying. I got pictures of multiple dump trucks forcing their way into traffic. Talking to the Hillsborough County Sheriff, the only thing I could do is let them hit me to cause an incident, further backing up traffic. If I sound a bit upset, I am, because I'm tired of it. I'm tired, as Mike is, of voicing our opinions, having them fall on deaf ears, only to be overridden by...
I'll give you another minute to finish
Okay.
up. Absolutely.
Then we look at things called drainage. You look at the new developments on 672. They're raising the ground base anywhere from 2 to 7 feet. Great for those new houses, horrible for the roads surrounding them or the people that live next to them. We talked about jobs in the first item of business of the day. And then they talked about, oh, we have enough space for the retail jobs. None of those retail jobs will make enough money to support the homes that are going in. What does that mean? That means more commuting by people like me that can afford it, but I'm probably going to look elsewhere because I don't want to have those times commutes. I want to just give me 2 more items.
Absolutely.
The Balm Community Plan. We worked with the county to develop a plan. Here's what we would like to see. We're willing to work with the development, but not the explosive growth. We got to have the infrastructure to support it. People are not, there's just not enough space. You got more and more cyclists riding on 672, a main truck route. Somebody's going to get killed. Does blood have to be spilled before things change? Green zones. We only have so much land. We moved out into that rural area to have space, to have something more than concrete, asphalt, and lights. We asked that our bond community plan that we worked with the county on be respected. We asked for 1 house per 5 acres. There's increased road dumping. There's increased racing. There's no good connections. There's no way to get around. So with that, solutions. Minimize the development outside the urban zones. Increase the rates. Make the developers pay for the cost of all the developments that go to make that safe for everybody's use, not just those making developments. We've gone for unabated sprawl, aquifer levels. There's less space for water to be absorbed with more asphalt and houses, causes flooding. You also have the developers putting in all these false ponds, sucking more water up to keep the ponds filled. We can do better. I love this place, but doggone it, we can do better. Thank you.
Thank you for your time, please. If you could sign in as well. Sir, if you could sign in, please. All right, with that, we'll close opposition testimony and go back to county staff. Mr. Grady?
Just like to note that if people have questions regarding filing, well, our argument, Fernando Quinones is available to answer their questions.
Okay. Mr. Ratliff? If you could address the transportation issues with highlighting the House bill issue the gentleman brought up.
Certainly, for the record, James Ratliff, Transportation Review Section. With regard to House Bill 7207, I can tell you that the county has interpreted it differently than the next to last speaker does. Essentially, what the bill says is that, look, you can't hold a developer accountable for a failure to plan for adequate roadways or to correct existing deficiencies. So essentially, you have to allow a developer to pay and go. So I would point out that this developer is proffering additional right-of-way. The current corridor preservation plan does not envision anything beyond 2 lanes on Baum along that portion in front of the site. However, they are voluntarily going ahead and providing additional right-of-way so that can be 4-laned in the future. So that even though the plans aren't envisioning that, that's something that the county could pursue. We wouldn't be foreclosed, if you will, because of a lack of right-of-way. So I would point that out as well. But essentially, the way we've interpreted it is once the developer pays their mobility fees, they will have been deemed to have satisfied their, essentially mitigated their impact, and will be allowed to proceed to development.
All right, thank you so much for that, I appreciate it. Excuse me, it's not appropriate, I'm sorry. We had your opportunity, that time is closed.
Madam Hearing Officer.
Yes.
Louis White, Assistant County Attorney.
Yes.
Just to clarify, Mr. Ratliff is addressing the mobility fee that was put in place to replace the impact fee ordinance. That does not affect the analysis of whether or not a project is consistent with the comprehensive plan. They still have to meet all the goals, objectives, and they have to be compatible. That comes subsequent, that particular analysis and that House bill that's referenced. It's now codified into the Florida statutes.
All right. Thank
Okay.
you. I appreciate that additional testimony. All right, so we'll go back to the applicant who has 5 minutes for rebuttal. Mr. Powell? Mr. Henry?
Good evening. I'm Steve Henry, Links and Associates, 5023 West Laurel, Tampa 33607. Just want to address a couple of transportation issues very quickly. One, as Mr. Ratliff had said, the county elected several years ago to adopt mobility fees as opposed to concurrency, so we were complying with that. We also did do a detailed traffic analysis to evaluate the access for the project to make sure that if turn lanes are required, we're providing turn lanes on McGrady, providing turn lanes on Baum Road. One of the comments made was that there was one way in and one way out of the school. In fact, we were providing 2 ways in and out of the school. We have our collector road that goes up to 672. We also have McGrady. So we've got 2 ways in and out of the school. There's also a comment made about no shoulders. There actually are shoulders on Baum Road. So we think we are providing the access that's needed for safe and efficient traffic flow for the project, and also that the school does have more than one way in and out.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, appreciate it. Mr. Powell?
Okay, Tim Powell, TSB Companies. A couple of items. As it relates to the comment about utilities outside the urban service area, policy 4.7 allows an RP2 expansion of utilities outside the urban service area, and we are following that particular policy. That kind of goes to an overall statement, and I've had to deal with this fair amount recently in my presentations. We have spent the last 7 months on working on this with the Planning Commission, with Development Services, and had, like I said earlier, the one meeting with the Baum Civic Association. And we've tried to express the fact that one of the goals that we approached the County Planning Commission and Development Services with is that we wanted to achieve full compliance of the RP2 criteria in the comprehensive plan. We were not looking for waivers. We were not looking for changing it. It's the same thing with Development Services under plan development. There is a set of criteria that we have to meet, And in essence, it's the law. It's a law that we felt that we wanted to take the tack that we were going to comply with. We were not going to ask for variances. And so we complied with the law. Sometimes individuals, their personal feeling is that they don't like the law as it is currently written. And I understand that. I know it's hard for citizens to understand that we hear them, but I have an obligation to the client that when we approach the county, we know what the law is and we comply with it. And we have done that. You have seen the staff comments tonight that we achieve full compliance with the comprehensive plan, the land development code, the school board, we've worked with them. Transportation, we did the transportation studies, as Mr. Henry said. And so that's where we're coming from. And I understand that, and we hear the message that some of the people don't like what the law allows us to do, but we're bound by the law. And you, as a hearing master, I think understand that you're bound, when you review it, you are also have to, or guided by the land development code and the requirements in the law. And as we go forth to the Board of County Commissioners, they too are required to at least comply with their existing laws. That's all we have. If people don't like that, then they have to change the law. But we are compliant with it. And I would respectfully request that since we have reached total compliance, full compliance from every single county department and the Planning Commission, that be recognized and that you recommend approval going to the board. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I appreciate your testimony. With that, we'll close rezoning 19-0436 and go to the next case.
The next item is agenda item E4, major mod application 19-0448. The applicant's Tampa Family Health Centers Incorporated. The request is for a major modification of existing plan development. Israel Monsanto will provide staff recommendation after presentation by the applicant.
Good evening. It's the applicant's turn. Good evening.
Good evening, Brett Davis, 1508 East Powhatan Avenue, Tampa 33610. I work for Georgia F. Young, representing Tampa Family Health. Along with me is Ty Witherington from Tampa Family Health, their attorney, Michael Rosbeck in the back. I'll keep it really brief, it's very late now. Last year they purchased an eastern half of a PD. All we're trying to do is, there's a divider line between sections A and B, different uses. All we're trying to do is move the line over to where their property line is to allow them to use the property for what they intended. It's going to be an office, it's not commercial, medical office building. That's really the only thing we're trying to seek. County staff, we've worked extensively with county staff. They're all on board with what we've got going. I don't think there will be any issues.
Do you have, I only had one question, and that is, it wasn't evident to me from your site plan where those boundaries, if you all could please exit quietly and shut the door, we'd appreciate it. We're still trying to continue on the hearing. If you could show me on the site plan where the old parcel A and B boundaries are. That's not evident to me from the site plan that I reviewed.
Oh, the new one?
Yes.
I don't have the old one with me, but it was 1.6 acres is what A was, and now it's 2.44.
So A is getting bigger and B is
correct.
getting smaller.
Their side is getting bigger and B is getting smaller.
I see. All right, that was it. Thank you. Development Services, please.
Israel Monsanto Development Services. I will go to the projector.
Okay, thank you.
Before I start, Mrs. Finch, I will hand out revised staff reports. You will see the double underline and double strike-through format, and basically those are the changes that I have done. Specifically, condition number 1, 1A, and 1B, those two conditions, you will see that they will be redacted as approved today. Basically will allow the maximum permitted in the entire PD. We went back to the original conditions because the applicant is only basically changing area A, and the PD will remain as approved today. basically saying the maximum density that you can develop the site. That's condition 1A, and then 1B is also the maximum amount of residential units you could get in the entire PD. So basically, it's nothing is changing. It's just that we decided to go back to those numbers.
It's the boundary, and they're just reapportioned, is that correct?
Right, the portion, the area A, together with area B is the entire PD. So basically, initially we decided to adjust the numbers because area A now we know is going to be developed with office uses, and basically you are set on those entitlements. Therefore, the number of units for the whole PD would logically will go down. But then the applicant only controls area A. So we decided to let's just leave those numbers as today because it's the entire PD anyways, and that's the maximum they can develop anyways.
I see.
So I will hand out this copy for you in the clerk's office. And the applicant has the updated staff report as well.
Thank you.
Also updated were the zoning map and the aerial map. You will see that the first page is different too. So we updated because the original staff report had the entire PD, but only the area A is the subject site, which is being amended today.
That's the modification area.
Correct. So the applicant seeks to modify upland development number 171095 in order to increase the area labeled Area A in the general site plan to reduce the number of, and also to reduce the number of site access points. And also trying to answer your question, have a graphic in the Elmo. Right, so Area B, so the current PD plan has the line between area A and B, this black line here.
That's the difference in the red area. The red
Correct.
areas. Okay.
So this major modification seeks to move that line to the west to correspond to the parcels that the applicant owns today. So if you look at the next page, the next graphic, this is the new line dividing area A and B, and in a gray light color, you see the parcels that on area B that are not owned by the applicant, but the parcels on area A, those are all owned by the applicant. So in essence, again, the modification on the PD is just to move that line so the applicant can develop area A with a medical office and related parking spaces and retention ponds. The PD today is approved for a community residential home, professional residential facility, and the combined maximum of 285 place residents in the total PD area, which is 4.75 acres. Also approved 57 single-family residential dwelling units and a maximum FAR 0.35. Only the acres for the use shall be used to determine the FAR, and this is for cultural institutional uses. And also a maximum of 25,308 square feet of CG uses, and that's limited on the area A. The applicant also decided to limit the area A for office uses, so the commercial use is not going to be maintained. So the commercial uses are going to be gone. In general, the proposed changes to the PD to increase area A in order to accommodate the health center is compatible use with the surroundings. The site is approved today for CG uses, and the applicant is replacing the CG uses with BPO, which is more serves as a better transition from the residential to the west and commercial to the east. Area A is not being increased for square footage for office uses and will remain at 25,308 square feet. Reduction of the area B will decrease the density for a community residential home and the number of residential units approved for the PD, but condition 1 will provide for the general density and total density to be still approvable for the whole PD. In summary, the intent of the request is to increase area A to accommodate the medical office project with no increase in entitlements. This will facilitate development of the site with ample land for building size, parking areas, and stormwater facilities. The changes do not affect the integrity of the PD, and internal connectivity will be provided between area A and B. Staff finds this major modification request approval with conditions, and we didn't receive any objection from other reviewing agencies. I'm available if you have any other questions.
You answered my questions. Thank you. Planning Commission.
Melissa Leinhardt, Planning Commission staff. The subject property is located in the residential 12 future land use category. It is in the urban service area and also within the limits of the University Area Community Plan. The proposed modification to PD 17-1095 would allow a development compatible with surrounding uses and also consistent with the residential 12 future land use category. The applicant is placing the more intense BPO use in Area A, fronting Nebraska Avenue, which is consistent with policy direction that states that development of higher intensity non-residential land uses adjacent to established neighborhoods should be restricted to arterials, collectors, and locations external to neighborhoods. Within the residential 12 future land use classification, a non-residential use is typically required to meet commercial locational criteria. However, in this case, the site is located in an area where over 50% of the given block is already zoned for commercial uses, meeting the intent of policy 25.3 of the future land use element as a non-residential infill project. Therefore, commercial locational criteria does not apply to this request. The site falls within the limits of the University Area Community Plan, and the proposed major modification supports the goals of this community plan by promoting a development with a variety of land uses. The 3 vehicular accesses, as well as the internal pedestrian connections within Area A, are supported by the University Area Community Plan goal of creating a network of streets and pedestrian links to facilitate mobility within the university area. The applicant has explained in the rezoning narrative that connectivity between areas A and B will be provided when the site develops, which has been added as a condition of the approval. This condition addresses the vision of the University Area Community Plan with regard to creating unified pedestrian and vehicular links between land uses. Based upon those considerations, Planning Commission staff finds the proposed modification consistent with the future of Hillsborough Comprehensive Plan for unincorporated Hillsborough County, subject to the conditions proposed by Development Services.
All right, thank you so much. Is there anyone that would like to speak in support? Anyone in favor? Seeing no one. Anyone in opposition? No one. County staff, anything further? Okay. The applicant? Anything? No, you're good? All right.
Madam Hearing Officer, just for the record, so can be a party of record, Michael Brooks, 100 North Tampa Street, Suite 3575. I was brought on to work with staff on the latest set of revisions that would not have any impact on parcel B, and I think otherwise that this is a downzoning of the parcel.
Are you here on behalf of parcel B?
No, I'm here on behalf of the applicant.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
All right. Thank you so much. If you could please sign in. Then with that, we'll close major modification 19-0448 and go to the next case.
The next item is agenda item E5, rezoning application 19-0549. The applicant is Roy Mazur. The request is rezoned from AS1 to a planned development. Charlie Andrews will provide staff recommendation after presentation by the applicant.
Good evening.
Good evening. Hello, my name is Linda Orison, 116 La Branch, Ocean Springs, Mississippi is my address, and I am the daughter of Howard Smith, the property owner of Crickle Drive, reference number PD 190549. It's been a long night, and I hope you're not expecting to get all my notes because I've crossed out most everything for your sake and mine also. This is a little 10-acre piece of property in Riverview. It's a beautiful hidden treasure for Riverview. It's 300 yards down a lane, and it's 10 acres of old Florida. It holds wonderful memories for our family, and my brother asked me to tell you about those, but we don't have time for that tonight, and that doesn't make any difference whatsoever in what we are proposing tonight. But I will tell you this just for the sake of my father, that will give you something to take home tonight with you that is sweet and wonderful, is my father actually on this property took 13 boys and took them from Cub Scouts to Eagle Scouts on this property. So it does mean a lot to us. Now, due to the majority of us living out of town and us relying on rentals to keep this property up to date, well maintained, We have lost 2 of those properties that are rentals, and we as a family can no longer maintain this property. We're going to lose it unless we sell it. Now, the home is 90 years old. That's what we're renting now. It literally will not be able to stand much longer without major and immediate repairs. The termite damage alone is probably going to very well render it unrepairable. Even in the light of loving this property so much and wanting my children and my grandchildren to have this property to go to, we find ourselves in a financial dilemma. Now, here's what we have faced. I must say I was skeptical to sell this property to a developer versus a person that would love and take care of this property. But I have followed this development team closely and feel like they have come up with a very, very responsible plan of upper-end townhomes that preserves much of the beauty as possible of this property. We probably have 50 live oak trees on this property, on this 10 acres. And you talk about a beautiful, beautiful piece of land. And I believe with all my heart that this plan from this development team will preserve as much of that as possible. And I also feel that the residents will appreciate the beauty of our surrounding property. So I highly recommend to you to please consider that I believe, and my entire family believes, that this is the best use of this property. My greatest fear for this property and for the memory of my father is that the family loses this property, and in turn it becomes an overgrown, snake-infested property in the midst of 3 housing developments. So I ask you to please consider, let's go ahead with this plan. Let's make this property as wonderful as it has always been, and give it to people that want to buy these townhomes and live in these townhomes, a beautiful piece of old Florida. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony.
And thank you. And now I would like to authorize Joe Semenio to speak on behalf of we, the owners.
Okay. If you could please sign in, please. Good evening.
Evening, Madam Hearing Officer. I'm here on behalf of Roy Mazur, who could not be here. He is the applicant. He is coaching his son up in a baseball tournament in Tennessee. I will do my very best to fill his shoes. I do have a very short, I know we have 10 minutes left, plenty of time to do a very short PowerPoint presentation. If I could open that up here. Perfect. All right, we have 9.8 acres being zoned from AS1 to PD. The access is off the west side of Crickle Avenue. 301 is to the northeast. Bloomingdale Avenue is about a mile to the north. Riverview Road is about a mile to the south. The project vision, 58 townhomes staying at 5.9 dwelling units per gross acre, so we're developing up to the future land use designation and not over it. We are definitely implementing ideas from the public, which we'll get into here in a moment, with a definite emphasis on tree preservation and open space. We are doing a voluntary preservation of the right-of-way, which we'll get into, that we're doing all on our side. Can't stress it enough. We are in SMU 6 right now. We are not requesting to go beyond 6 units per acre. From the Planning Commission staff report, adding 58 townhome units to this area would be complementary to the existing uses and would be a natural extension of the land uses in this area. The proposed use not only meets the intent of the SMU 6 plan category, it fits well into the character of the community. Looking at existing buffering and adjacent land uses. To the north, we have Miranda Drive right-of-way and an existing 6-inch PVC fence. Moving to the west from there, we have a community park and 6-inch PVC fence, 6-foot PVC fence. As we move down the western side and southwestern corner, we have a very dense forested wetland. Moving around the southern portion of the site, again, dense wetland areas until we get to the church and single-family residence. On the north side, we have a 15-foot undeveloped strip that's associated with one of the flag lots to our north. Again, a church and more single-family directly to the north, which I'm sure we'll be talking about later on in the presentation. Public outreach on March 4th, we met with the Villages of Lake St. Charles property manager and board president. On April 2nd, Lake St. Charles CDD monthly meeting, and then again on May 7th, the Notice Community Meeting at River of Life Church. Those meetings were invaluable to us. The key takeaways: residents were concerned with security, completely understandable. Concerned with preserving trees. Not only preserving trees, but there are a number of trees along the property boundaries that it's difficult to tell which side they're on, and they're not in good health, and they need to be addressed as well. So we're working with natural resources on that as well. Traffic issues, as always. We have Steve Henry here from Links and Associates to address any questions regarding that. Project features that we have implemented to address these concerns. Along the perimeter, voluntary preservation of healthy trees, and again, taking down dangerous trees per staff request. A lot of trees along the boundary, we've dealt with that before. They'll be buffering along the entire boundary that includes screen walls. We're not going to run those walls through healthy trees. We're going to find ways to work around those trees, and we're going to address the unhealthy trees that pose a potential danger. We have requested an LDC variation to position the entry sidewalk in the buffer to preserve trees. I know that sounds sort of counterintuitive, but what we're doing is instead of a sidewalk on both sides, we have an oversized sidewalk on one side of the entry drive. It's a very tight space. If we had to do the two, we would be taking out trees to do so. So this gives us more flexibility to put a bigger multi-use trail on one side and work around trees in the process. Voluntary preserving of right-of-way to match the frontage of Villages of Lake St. Charles. Again, we don't have a lot of frontage out on Crickle. We don't want to oversell this point. We understand it's not a lot, but we are taking the entire right-of-way dedication on our property. We're a link in the chain up and down Crickle. Any CIP projects that come along in the future, we're going to make sure we are not in their way to do any widening. And we're taking the burden from the residents across the street who would otherwise need to be giving up that right-of-way in the future. 6-inch fence around the perimeter per code. However, we have requested an LDC variation for an 8-foot fence along the eastern boundary flanking the existing single-family residential. That came from direct concerns about privacy and security from the adjacent residents. So we did a voluntary request for that variation. On-site amenity with pool and abundance of open community space. Pretty common in developments these days to get the amenity in there. This was sort of an interesting concern we got from the residents of some of the surrounding communities where people that didn't belong to those communities were sort of infiltrating their neighborhoods and their amenity centers using their amenity facilities. What our goal here is to basically produce enough open space, parks, tree preservation, pool, and amenities so that the neighbors don't have any reason to go anywhere in the adjacent communities, just stay within the community. Traffic issues, connectivity. Again, we show the right-of-way up front. Not a whole lot of frontage, but we are a critical link up along Crickle, and we have elected to take the entire dedication onto our property. Per requirements, we show interconnections throughout. There is absolutely no intent to have driveways poke through to these adjacent neighborhoods, but we're required to show these interconnectivities for any redevelopment in the future. So we adhered to that requirement. Traffic peak hour trip comparison from observed 2019 trip counts from the access management report found in the PD application. Observed northbound AM peak trips 363. We have 15 trips or 4% contributing to that. Observed southbound PM peak trips 627. We're generating 16 or only 2.5% of those. Again, if we need to get more into traffic, Steve Henry's there to address those. To summarize, we have an infill project within the future, staying within future land use density, not just of our parcel, but surrounding parcels as well. We're well inside the urban service area, 0 staff objections, no off-site transportation improvements required by staff. Site plan accommodations for future connectivity. Again, no intention of doing that, but per requirement, we're making sure that's available. Site plan accommodations for buffering and tree preservation. And we concur with staff's recommendations and would be happy to answer any questions.
I just have one question, and
Yes.
that pertains to the sidewalk variation.
Yes.
I understand the intent of it, to
Yes.
preserve trees, but it will be included in the homeowners' maintenance obligations? The homeowners association, they will take that on?
Absolutely. That entire strip is not somehow exempt from the homeowners within. That's part of the deal.
Okay, thank you. That was my only question. Appreciate
Okay.
it. Development Services.
Good evening, Charles Andrews, Development Services. As the applicant stated, the request is to rezone the subject property from AS1 to the PD, Planned Development Zoning District, to permit a maximum of 58 single-family attached townhome units at a density of 5.9 dwelling units per gross acre. The property is located at 6619 Crikel Avenue within the Riverview Community Planning Area. There are no compatibility issues related to this request. The area is comprised largely of single-family residential development and residential support uses such as churches. Residential densities in the area range from 3.5 to 6 dwelling units per gross acre. As stated currently in the applicant's presentation, the applicant's requesting 2 variations of the Land Development Code. Specifically, the first variation is the Land Development Code Section 60702 C1F, which states the maximum average height of any fence or wall shall be 6 feet. Per the submitted site plan, the applicant is requesting a 2-foot height increase to permit an 8-foot high fence along the southern and eastern property boundaries. I think they had just mentioned the eastern on that, but let me just be clear, it's the southern and eastern property boundaries in efforts to provide enhanced screening, safety, and security to help mitigate for any adverse impacts to adjacent property owners. The second variation is per Land Development Code Section 60606. The applicant requests to permit the construction of a sidewalk within the defined buffer area along the project's entrance driveway. This is being requested due to the project's narrow access corridor and in efforts to allow for design flexibility and/or further preservation of existing trees on site. To encourage efficient vehicular circulation between adjacent properties, as shown currently there by the applicant's presentation. The applicant is proposing cross-access connections to the north and south properties, as well as to the east. As a result, the established residential development in the area and the proposed justification for the requested variations, the proposal would serve as appropriate infill development. No objections were received from reviewing agencies, and staff recommends approval with conditions. I'm here if you have any questions.
I don't.
Okay,
Thank you. Planning Commission.
Melissa Leinhard, Planning Commission staff. The subject property is located within the suburban mixed-use 6 future land use category. It is in the urban service area, and it is also located within the limits of the Riverview Community Plan and the South Shore Area-Wide Systems Plan. The applicant is proposing 58 dwelling units in the suburban mixed-use 6 future land use category, which allows consideration for up to 6 dwelling units per gross acre. The proposed number of dwelling units is consistent with the density expected in this plan category. The proposed rezoning would serve to continue the existing residential land use that is near the subject property, which is compatible with the existing development pattern. Specifically, there are attached single-family townhomes located on the east side of US Highway 301 within approximately 1/2 mile of the subject property. There are additional townhomes further east along Providence Road. A multifamily development is also located nearby, approximately 1/3 of a mile from the subject property. The proposed planned development will be providing another housing option of single-family residential attached units in the area, which helps to meet the vision of the Riverview Community Plan. The community plan promotes diversity in housing type and style to help counter a generic suburban look. Providing attached townhome units would also be consistent with policy direction in the community design component of the future land use element. Specifically, Policy 1-1.1 encourages the provision of a variety of housing types and densities within Riverview. The applicant is showing vehicular connections to the north, south, and east of the subject property. Providing that connectivity to the surrounding properties is consistent with policy direction in several areas of the comprehensive plan. Policy 16.3 of the future land use element places importance on providing pedestrian connections within a development as well as connections exterior to a development. The proposed site plan is consistent with this policy as internal sidewalks are shown throughout the townhome development as well as to the entrance to the site connecting into the sidewalk along Crikel Avenue. Based upon these considerations, Planning Commission staff finds the proposed plan development consistent with the future of Hillsborough Comprehensive Plan for unincorporated Hillsborough County, subject to the conditions proposed by Development Services Department.
All right, thank you so much. Is there anyone that would like to speak in support? Anyone in favor? Seeing no one, anyone in opposition? Yes, if you could all come forward, please. I see 3 people, so we'll do 5 minutes apiece, Allison.
Can my wife and I come up at the same time?
Yes, yes. It all counts towards your time.
I'm going to put this for the overhead.
My name is Joanne Garrison, and my address is 6615 Kreikle Avenue.
My name's Greg Garrison, 6615 Kreikle Avenue. We'll start. Our property to get everybody acquainted.
You'll need to be, if you step over there, you need the microphone.
Our property is this parcel right here. We share the driveway that comes into this planned development. Currently, my portion of this is 15 feet wide to the north side, and that's kind of the area where they're planning the sidewalk. This driveway has been shared since the property has been there, and I'm a little concerned about access to our property. It's going to have to be shared. There's no place for me to put a driveway in. It is a swale that usually has water in it. And the plan is to put a gate access in this area. My concern is that I'm not sure where these people, if they can't get in the gate, it's going to be probably coded gate. If they can't get in, where are they going to be turning around? Are they going to be coming through my driveway? So if that does happen, I'd like to request from the developer a gate installed at my driveway where I enter my property.
Show me on that plan where your driveway is right now.
Okay, so if, like I said, we share this driveway, and then my driveway starts right here, and the residence is back here.
Okay, so that dashed line, that's your house?
Yes, right, right
Okay.
there's the house. This is a half an acre pond that's in mostly on our property. The property line kind of cuts it off here, and a little bit of this corner, the property line cuts it off. There's a fence existing, but it doesn't, it's off of my property. So it kind of seems like our property is a little bit bigger than it actually is based on where the fence is. So with that, there's some other issues too I'd like to get into, and I can go back up to the podium.
Sure. So that, you have 15 feet of that easement
Yes.
as your access?
Yes.
Okay.
And again, this property used to be one property. It used to all be owned by the Smiths. It was deeded off to their son, Dallas. And so he built the house there, and it went up for sale on the market, and I purchased it in 2005.
So this is going to be a huge change to the way that we live. It's an invasion of our privacy. It's a lot of noise that we're not used to. We're used to living in a quiet area and having a lot of privacy. So I'm glad that they did extend the fence. But his concern was mainly the driveway and the turning around. My concern is we have that body of water on our property, and I don't see in the plans where there's any kind of barricade or fence to keep a wandering child or toddler or a curious, person from coming over and ending up in our pond, and then we would be held liable. So I want to make sure that that pond is safely secured so that we don't have any unnecessary tragedies. So that's my biggest concern. I am also concerned that this may cause a loss of value because most of the homes around us are single-family homes. So we're worried about a negative impact on our property value, of course, and traffic, which seems to have been a topic discussed a lot tonight. I think you probably are aware of the issue that already exists at Highway 301 in Bloomingdale. It's a parking lot every morning during rush hour, every evening during rush hour. In order for my husband to get to work, which is how many,
3.7 miles,
how long does it take you?
sometimes over 20, 25 minutes.
My son's school is 12 miles from my house. It takes me an hour and 20 minutes round trip to take him to school. So I find it hard to believe that putting over 55 townhomes that are targeted for families, I find it hard to believe that that's not going to impact us in some way, shape, or form. Especially in the sense that in order to, if they give us access to Crikel, in order to take a left turn out of our driveway to make it to Crikel Avenue, I'm going to be yielding to the residents of the townhome.
Was that 5 minutes? We'll give you an additional 5 because there's two
Thank
of you.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you. So I am concerned about the amount of traffic, and like I said, safety. You got it?
Yeah, traffic is a big deal, has been all night tonight, especially in the southern Hillsborough area. I know that there's times where we sit at the end of our driveway to pull out onto Crikel to go to 301 for, multiple minutes. The traffic light at Crikel and 301, I've sat through that light 3 to 4 cycles. So that's a big concern. One thing that was brought up in a meeting that we had with Roy from WSE, WRA, sorry. The traffic study that I saw, I think, was based on 2012 Hillsborough County results. I don't know if that's changed, but one thing that wasn't considered was school buses. So this is a multi-family, planned multi-family units, 3-bedroom townhomes. Where's the school buses going to stop? I have no idea. That's going to be an issue as well. And another thing too, the multi-unit family. I don't know where I was going with that, but I'm a little nervous. It doesn't fit in with what's currently there. It's all single home in the area. There is a couple of townhouses. Their access to approach 301 is from a different location, like a couple of roads down. It's not all on Crikel Avenue. I don't think any townhouses would come out on Crikel Avenue. I think they would all go a couple of different streets over. So the townhouses would really affect the traffic on Crikel. And I know a lot of people from Lake St. Charles had major concerns with traffic. None of them are here tonight, unfortunately, but I know they had some major issues. So
Here's one thing to mention as well. In the variations criteria for review, item number 4, explain how variations will not substantially interfere with or injure the rights of the adjacent property owner. It states folio 74089-1000 has an approximate 15-foot strip of land which once served as an access to the flag lot. It's not an access. We own that land.
yeah. Yeah, and we never used
And
it
there,
as a driveway.
they want to put a sidewalk there, so.
Our major concern is lack of privacy. There's going to be a lot of construction noise. I'm not sure that the property is completely overgrown now. I'm sorry for the Smiths. They haven't had any of their family living there and maintaining the property for quite a while. When construction happens, I know that's going to push a lot of the snakes and creatures over to our property. So if the construction does happen, I would hope a fence would go in first thing. And some sort of noise.
Can I just clarify based on, I'm sorry to interrupt.
Sure.
Can I just clarify based on something you just said? So do you own the strip of land, your
Yes.
access? So it's
Yes.
not an easement?
It's
You
not an
you
easement.
own
Yes,
it
it's not
fee
an
simple
easement.
with your
Yes.
property? Okay, and it's 15 feet wide?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And you're saying that the sidewalk that they're proposing is going to go on your
No,
property
no, it
at
wouldn't
some
go
point?
on. They couldn't do
No,
that.
no, they
okay.
couldn't, it's like a swale. You couldn't do that. That would,
We've considered making some sort of trade with a developer, maybe to hook up like a water meter, something like that for us in trade. They can, we could work something out, but that's something we can work on in the future.
Okay. There's about a minute left on your time.
But we're very concerned, with losing our privacy, loss of our value. We had put the house on the market initially with their realtor. There was no action it's been on the market for 4 years. So there was no action. So we took it off the market and it was for sale. And we're currently willing to sell to the developer. I've given them a fair market value based on 30 comps that I got, so, well,
And,
probably
and like
15
I
comps.
said, my biggest fear is safety.
Yeah.
With the body of water. I think that they need to somehow make sure that's secure.
All right, thank you so much. If
You're
you could
welcome.
both sign in, I appreciate it. Yes, sir. You have 5 minutes.
How you doing? My name is Tom Bizzuto, 9307 Stone River Court, Riverview, Florida. I'm here as a representative of the church, River of Life Christian Center. One of the things that we've been addressing all day as we've been through this meeting that started several hours ago is traffic. And I know we've talked about a lot of things, but approximately 9 to 10 years ago, we were in this very room together as a church. And we were here looking to possibly lease some land, and then with the option to buy some land to a charter school that was in that was looking specifically at our property. At that time, when they were looking at our property, it was stated to them in a hearing similar to this, as the results came out, that in order for them to be able to purchase that property, they would have to widen Crikel Avenue. Now, as we talk about a traffic study that was put up there from 2019, which, as Mr. Garrison referenced, the one that was brought in our meeting was from 2012. There's no talk. Actually, the verbiage I believe that was used was there was very little to no impact of traffic when you put 58 townhomes onto this road. I don't understand that. I don't know if you all understand that, but no impact to a 2-lane road when you have 58 townhomes is pretty shocking to me to hear. I will tell you that as a church in non-peak hours, we have taken upon ourselves at our expense to hire an off-duty deputy at all of our services to provide flow of traffic due to the traffic that's already on that road. We utilize that to not only help us exit our facility, but also to detour traffic a different direction due to the backup that we have that was referenced approximately or a little less than a mile to 301. However, that road backs up past our property as well as past the property that we're talking about. This evening, as I was leaving my office to come here, it was already backed up from 301 past the property. The real concern is traffic. That's what we're here to talk about, is the traffic concerns. Referenced in 2012, which I'm sure is in some notes that you all have, was the traffic study that was done, or not in 2012, I'm sorry, 9 years ago, was what was done when a charter school was looking at that facility. Traffic is an issue in Hillsborough County. I don't have an issue with townhomes. I personally live in a townhome. To be honest, it's going to be potential parishioners to our church. The issue isn't the townhomes. It's not the usage of the property. The issue is the traffic. So if we could see something done to alleviate the traffic, we have a lot of concerns similar to the Garrisons, a great family, and their property is a different situation. And we feel for them in that situation and hope that they can resolve some of those issues because of the way where they're located and the way that property was. As a church, we've looked at that property several times and have talked and made countless offers to through their realtor on that property. But our concern is the traffic and the flow of traffic, both ways going to 301 as well as out by Lake St. Charles. And how do we resolve that when you have the amount of cars, there's 58 cars or 58 homes, the amount of cars, 2 and 3 cars per home, and as well as school buses. The proposed development is not even a loop. I don't understand how a bus is going to go in there, turn around and release. They may have to release onto Crikel Avenue, different things like that. And so our concern, again, restating our concern, really turns into a traffic issue. We're not here to talk about trees. We're not here to talk about fences, and all those things are great. And I believe the builder and developer has worked well with us. They've met. We've talked about that. We've met all those. But the current issue, as well as it's been a common thread throughout the whole night, is traffic. And this traffic has to be resolved in Hillsborough County soon. Otherwise, we're not going to be able to grow any more as we already are. We have a great community. We have a great county. And people want to live here, and I believe they want to live here for a reason. We just need to provide the infrastructure to allow them to live here and to allow them a place to live. That's what I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. If you could please sign in. All right, so with that, we'll close the opposition testimony. County staff, it seems like there's something to talk about.
James Ratliff, I'm going to go over to the Elmo, if I may, real quick. So this is essentially the GIS viewer on the property appraiser's website. And what we're looking at here is folio number 740891000, which is essentially that folio number, or that folio right here that the couple was referring to their home. Let's see if I can. So this one right here, it does not show it very clearly on the site plan, which is why I wanted to show that outline from the property appraiser's website. And essentially you can see that what they've got there is a flag lot. Now, my understanding is they talked about the sidewalk being placed within their property. Our understanding is that they're currently utilizing the adjacent neighbor's access within their property, and the developer's making plans to continue that to occur. What I did want to suggest is that we add a condition that, to make it more clear, that we designate the area between the gated area and Crikel as a shared access facility.
Could you push your site plan up? It's just the closed captioning is right in the area you're talking about.
So essentially the area here between the gated facility, or the gated entry, and Crikel here as a shared access facility, because they are showing an arrow here to allow this parcel to continue to take access through their parcel, even though they're their own flag lot and could theoretically have their own access right adjacent to it. They're making arrangements to allow that to continue through this proposed project, which is why that arrow's there.
The gate is that line you just drew?
Yeah, I kind of drew it in this general area. It is not clear and it's not shown. I would say that the gate is going to have to comply with TD9 standards, and so there's another condition I would like to propose, just in the sake of clarity and hearing the discussion, is that notwithstanding anything on the PD site plan or herein these conditions to the contrary, the development shall be required to comply with the TD9 gate standards, which does require a turnaround. So that if somebody comes down there, can't get in through the gate, the TD9 standards does provide for that turnaround to be
on
able to...
their own property and not on the adjacent property.
Correct.
Okay.
So I think those two things together maybe help clarify things a little bit better in terms of what's happening there.
And if you could, I don't know if you heard the next gentleman's testimony. He talked about another rezoning that required some widening of Crikel that may not be certainly applicable at this point, but if you could address any of those improvement issues.
I'm not aware of what project that would be, but essentially they are going to be required to, if Crikel is substandard, they would have to come in and talk about bringing it up to standards, or otherwise obtain a design exception or a variance. And then in terms of the traffic mitigation, they're going to be paying mobility fees for the new development that would offset their impact.
Okay. Thank you for that. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Mr. Grady, anything further with that? All right. We'll go
I would
back
just, again, note for the record that Fernando Quiones is available for the people who spoke. If they have questions about filing oral argument, he's available to answer those questions.
to speak to the Board of County Commissioners.
Yes.
All right. Thank you so much. We'll go back to the applicant, who has 5 minutes for rebuttal.
Joe Simino, WRE Engineering. I heard a handful of understandable concerns. We talked about a gate, buffering, privacy and noise, home value, and traffic. I'll be brief to let Mr. Henry address traffic. From a gate standpoint, as you heard, we don't get a construction permit until we go through a painstaking review, technical review, to make sure our gate's in compliance with Hillsborough County Transportation Technical Manual. We expect to do that as part of the site construction plan review. Buffers. Yes, there is a lake that is partially shared over the property boundaries. That does not make us exempt from a buffer. We're going to have to try to figure out a way to get our 8-foot wall around the western side of that pond. And to the southern portion of it, we have a type A screening requirement. We are not exempt because there's a lake on the property boundary. We will
Sir,
find
if
a
you
way to
could
get that
speak in
around
here.
it.
She's typing what you say. Thank you.
So sorry, trying to give Steve some time here. Privacy, noise, site configuration, not a lot of time to go back to the site plan, but directly adjacent to their home is our dead end in the most extreme northeastern portion of the project. So really the only direct traffic directly adjacent to their house is the last unit pulling into their driveway. So we put that at a dead end. Home value, we've done a lot of townhome communities, a lot of 18-foot wide townhomes. We we know how to cram them in. In this case, because of the density limitation, we have the ability to provide a significant amount of open space on this project, significant amount of tree preservation, and 22-foot wide townhome units, which is relatively wide compared to other products. With that, I'll leave traffic to Mr. Henry.
Good evening, Steve Henry, Links & Associates, 5023 West Laurel, Tampa 33607. Just a couple of the traffic comments that came up. One was the intersection of US 301 and Bloomingdale. As indicated by Mr. Ratliff, the county adopted mobility fees several years ago, so we pay our mobility fees, so that's really to mitigate the impacts to those external roadways. Second comment was that the traffic analysis was based on 2012 data. In fact, we did counts February of this year. That was what the analysis was based on, not data from 2012. Then one of the comments on the previous use, I suspect that when the church came in for a charter school, that would necessitate turn lanes on Crackle because they would meet the warrant for turn lanes. This project, which only has about 4% of the capacity of the road impact on the roadway, doesn't trigger the need for turn lanes. So that's why we don't have any improvements as opposed to a charter school that has the traffic coming in and leaving and would warrant the turn lanes. So that's probably the difference between what they were required to do versus what this is required to do. And then also, we did get an administrative variance for Crackle Road based on the conditions of the road today.
Oh, I see.
So,
all right, thank you so much.
All right, thank you.
Perfect, thank you. Does that complete your rebuttal testimony? All right, does that complete your testimony? All right, thank you so much. Then with that, we'll close rezoning 19-0549 and go to the next case.
The next item is agenda item E6, rezoning application 19-0613. The applicant's Preston Price. The request is rezoned from AR to planned development. Charles Andrews will provide staff recommendation after presentation by the applicant.
Is the applicant here? Good evening.
My name's Preston Price. I'm here on behalf of 4606 Bruton Road. The homeowners are here with me today. And a little backdrop, they bought the property back in 2017, not knowing that it was a non-conforming lot and they were unable to build another dwelling on it. Well, so they built a dog kennel on it that's existing right now, which was out of compliance. They didn't get a permit for, so that's why we're here. And that's the main reason for the PD rezoning. And they have built the dog kennel for the dogs, and she'll give you a little backdrop. She rescues huskies from the kill shelters and from Hillsborough County Resource Center, and she takes care of them on her own dime, and then she also finds home for them free of charge to good homes. That being said, we need the PD rezoning, so while we're doing that, they also want to build somewhere down the road a 4,000 square foot house on the property as well, and give the current house, which is 2,000 square feet, over to their daughter, which is special needs, so they can keep an eye out for her, as well as give her, some mobility and some freedom on her own, but still be on the property. And again, since we were doing the PD rezoning, he has no garage right now. They have no garage. So on the back of the property, they would like to put up a shed so they can store all their toys. He's got motorcycles, golf carts, jet skis, lawn equipment. And from here, Ms. Teixeira has a little statement she'd like to read.
Okay. Good evening. Hi.
And just read
You
my
can.
letters.
Just give us your name and address before you start.
My name is Sharon Teixeira.
And just bring this to you a little bit. There you
And
go.
I live on the 4606 Bruton Road in Plant City, Florida, 33565. My love for dogs is immense. I own huskies and Australian shepherds. My dogs have never escaped and gotten into another property in a country. I have found other dogs on my own and returned to their owners. My huskies are rescued from kill shelters to people that have contacted me saying that they are not unavailable to take care of them. I rehome some of them free of charge to people I know we take care of them. the one that are old of age or the one I am unable to find a suitable home I keep as my own. Everyone is up to date on vaccination and checkup. I found this property in hopes of being able to give them proper space for run and release all their energy. My dogs are part of my family, and I can only be optimistic that I will be able to keep my family together. I have remodeled my property into the homes of my dream. I have the intention to remodel another home to keep my nuclear family in alliance. And that's it.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
I appreciate it. If you could please sign in with the clerk's office. All right. Does that complete your presentation? That's it? Yes, good. Okay. Development Services, sorry.
Good evening, Charles Andrews, Development Services. As the applicant stated, the request tonight is to rezone the subject property from AR, agricultural rural, to the PD, Planned Development Zoning District, to permit an existing single-family detached residence and accessory kennel and open storage uses on approximately 7.5 acres. The property is located at 4606 Bruton Road, within the East Rural Community Planning Area. The site is currently developed with a 2,172 square foot heated area, single-family residence, and a 1,512 square foot barn. The proposed accessory kennel and open storage uses are both conditionally permitted and are subject to the applicable sections of the Land Development Code. There are no compatibility issues related to this request. The area is comprised largely of agricultural and large tract single-family residential development, ranging in size from 2.5 to 12 acres. As a result of the established development in the area, and that the underlying AR zoning either permits or conditionally permits the proposed uses, the proposal would serve as appropriate infill development. No objections were received from reviewing agencies, and staff recommends approval with conditions. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
I don't have any
Okay,
this time. Thank you. Planning Commission.
Melissa Leinhardt, Planning Commission staff. The subject property is located in the agricultural rural 1 to 5 future land use category. It is in the rural area, and it is not located within the limits of a community plan. The proposed plan development is an allowable use within and is consistent with the agricultural rural future land use category. Dog kennels are defined within the Land Development Code as an accessory agricultural use. Some of the typical uses within the agricultural rural 1 to 5 future land use designation include mining activities and feedlots. The subject site is within an area where the primary uses in the surrounding area are agricultural and residential uses. Proposed conditions will ensure the scale and design of the site is compatible with the surrounding area. The applicant is meeting the Land Development Code regulations regarding setbacks, which would also meet the intent of Policy 9.2 of the future land use element. To remain compatible with the surrounding development pattern, a condition has been added, ensuring that the site cannot be used as a commercial use in the future. Based upon those considerations, Planning Commission staff finds the proposed plan development consistent with the future of Hillsborough Comprehensive Plan for unincorporated Hillsborough County, subject to the conditions proposed by Development Services.
Thank you so much. Is there anyone that would like to speak in support? Anyone in favor? Yes, sir.
My name is Jose Burgos. I'm friends of the family. I just moved from Florida.
Could you give us your address, please?
I live at 2212 Lightning Rod, Plant City, Florida 33563.
Thank you.
I come to the home often, and I'm very surprised at the level of care the family gives to the dogs. And coming from New York, where it's a busy city, you cannot have puppies, you know. So I come here and I see what they offer the pups and how they care, and the happening it brings the people when they receive a pet, and being that it was rescued and seeing from where it was to what it is. When they take it, it's like a new puppy, you know. It's like revive. It's full of life because they care for the pups, you know. And you know, that's something to admire.
Thank you for your testimony. I appreciate it. All right, anyone else in support? Seeing no one, anyone in opposition? Okay, I have 4 people, 5. If you could all just come forward, it'll speed things up. So, Allison, 3 minutes apiece, please. Go ahead. Good evening.
My name is Robert Hars. I live at 5025 Justin Lane in Plant City. My property is north and west of the gentleman's or the other folks' home. I moved to Plant City 20 years ago to get some peace and quiet, not planned development. I love dogs too, but I don't want 100 dogs in my backyard. Currently, they have a kennel that's not permitted, and the kennel is making a lot of noise. They do nothing to remediate the noise, and there's no facility or nothing, no plant in place to take care of a remediation of the said noise. We are in a residential neighborhood. Everybody's got homes. There's no more than 2 homes on 10 acres. They want to put 2 homes, a garage, and 2 kennels or another kennel out there on 7 acres? That's not fair to the people who pay the taxes and they abide by the laws. I tried to build a home for my mom when she was dying on my property. I was told no by the county. Now it's okay to put 2 homes, a garage, and a kennel on the county? It's not fair. It should be fair for me and fair for them. The proposed change is not compatible with the proposed land use plan nor the comprehensive plan. It's completely out of character to have PD in that neighborhood. Everything is AR. Everybody's got at least, there are smaller parcels out there, but the average parcel is 9.73 acres. You can look that up on your zoning map. What's going to happen in years to come if they decide to take their PD development and go ahead and sell it to somebody who wants to develop it? I hear you say you can't do it, but you can't police every corner of the county. If you've got the zoning, you have the ability to go ahead and fight and get your zoning implemented so you can put commercial development in my backyard. I've got a dog, I've got over $60,000 of training invested in. My dog doesn't bark. Their dogs bark like hell, and excuse my French, but that's exactly what it's like. I'm 5 years in bed from a cancer surgery that went bad, and I have to listen to their dogs if I go out in my backyard. I'm really, really tired of it. I'm disabled, I can't move, I can't sell my house, and I have to listen to this stuff that's illegal, that shouldn't be there. But you're permitting them to go further with it? It's not fair to the people who've been there for 20 years. You know, how would you like a dog kennel in your backyard? Think about it. Howling dogs, I can understand their love for dogs. I have had a dog all my life. But I don't let my dogs howl and bother the neighbors, and every one of the neighbors will contest the fact or concur. It's crazy. They're huskies. They make noise. Anywho, that's what I have to say about that.
Thank you for coming down. I appreciate it. Yes, ma'am. Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Laura Watson. I live at 5001 Twin Pine Drive, Plant City, Florida. I've resided there for the past 30 years. I also own a piece of property at 4935 Justin Lane. We have a farm there. I just paid a contractor tens of thousands of dollars to build me a home there. I did not realize that what was going on behind me. I could see digging. I could see large beams. I honestly at first thought it was a fish farm. Since then, I have found out that it is in fact dogs. Where I live now, approximately 1 mile away, I've had to tolerate a greyhound facility for roughly 20 years. That facility was located 1 mile from my home. There was a buffer of orange groves and farmland between that, and it didn't deafen the sound at all. Where they are building is at the back of their property. What they're doing is they're going to move their noise to our backyard. The gentleman that spoke prior, he lives west of me. This thing is almost in his backyard. The man in between us pays $9,000 a year, according to your tax rolls, in property taxes. How is this fair to us? Also, I'm a voice for the voiceless. There's an assisted living facility or some type of group home that's less than a quarter of a mile from this facility. There is no doubt in my mind that there are people laying there listening to this. I just spoke with a woman that lives on Bruton Road. She told me the same thing. That's all she hears is dogs barking constantly. From the looks of what they have, I would like to know, A, if you're just simply rescuing dogs out of the kindness of your heart, how on earth, I mean, this looks like a commercial facility that they're building. There's no way to police whether or not they're going to breed these dogs for resale. And something just doesn't add up right here. I cannot have 2 homes on my property. My property is almost 10 acres. I am not allowed to have more than one dwelling on my property. I just do not believe that it is fair to the surrounding neighbors. And I'm a dog lover. I rescue dogs. And can I ask a question? Because my question would be, I would like to know how long these people have owned this property.
We'll ask them in the rebuttal period.
The reason I ask is over the years, numerous malnutrition dogs have shown up from that property onto my property. I've had to call Hillsborough County to have them come out and shoot them with a tranquilizer dart to get collars that were embedded in their necks. They also, that property had horses out there that were so poor, I literally had to double fence my line to keep them away from my horses for fear of disease. They allowed a stallion to run loose on that property. That property was not properly fenced in. And if in fact these are the same individuals that owned that property 15 years ago when we bought ours, I would say no way, no way.
All right, thank you for coming down, I appreciate it. Yes, ma'am. Good evening.
Good evening, Madam Hearing Officer. My name is Denise Smith. I live at 4925 Justin.
Bring it to you just a little bit. There you go.
My name is Denise Smith. I live at 4925 Justin Lane. This is almost in my backyard. It is 1 yard over and one back. It's literally like catty corner. I am also a dog lover. I wish I could have, with all compassion, say, sure, anything with dogs. But looking at the aerial Google view of their backyard, they already have an L-shaped kennel, and they're looking at increasing that. What we deal with the barking of the dogs is horrible. It's a terrible, terrible shame. My husband and I are both disabled veterans. I'm in so much pain, I'm shaken. This is really hard for me to sit here through this hearing this long. But I can completely, 100% agree with my neighbor, Mr. Robert, that it's excessive. The dogs are barking 11:30 at night. They're barking 4:30 in the morning. It's this screaming, howling pitch, and when one starts, they all start. And my husband and I moved around for 30 years with serving our country. My husband's been all over the world, multiple wars. We moved out there for peace and quiet, paid more in taxes just so we can have 5 acres. I mean, 5 acres to us is like a dream come true. And it's not, because we can't have peace and quiet, and I can't say yes to this. I can't say yes to this. We were happy that it's one house per 4.9, 4.95 or 4.99? But it's just short of 5. We were happy with that. You know, we worked hard. We don't want everybody coming living on our property. We don't want it. We can't take care of everyone. We've taken care of the country. We want to rest. And for that reason, I'm begging you to say no, and I'm really sorry to do it, to say that, because I do love animals, but it's terrible.
Thank you
It's terrible
so much.
for us that are in the middle of this, because it's right in the middle of where we live. And it goes right through the trees, and it's loud.
Thank you very much for your testimony. If you could please sign in. Yes, ma'am. Good evening.
Good evening. Do you guys work this late every Monday night?
Not every Monday.
My name is Rose Curl, and I live at 4605 Bruton Road. My husband and I bought a 30-acre farm in 1975. It is directly across from 4606. We hear howling, barking. It doesn't have to be a full moon, but the full moon makes it a whole lot more. My grandchildren wake up in the middle of the night, afraid. They've come out of the sleep and they hear wolves. That's what they say. We hear wolves howling. I'm afraid if we go ahead and approve this rezoning, we've let the horse out of the barn. Everything will start to happen on that piece of property. They're already saying they want a garage, another kennel, a 4,000 square foot house. Where does it end? After we've approved this, there will be no end. And the howling and the grandchildren waking up in the middle of the night will continue. I don't know how many dogs they usually kennel, but I know that if this is approved, they'll have 14 kennels, 2 dogs a kennel, 28 dogs. You don't want that in your backyard, and neither do I. Thank you.
Thank you for your time. I appreciate it. Yes, sir.
Hi, my name is Patrick Kerr. I live at 5103 Justin Lane. I'm directly beside Robert Hars. I too hear the noise all night long. When I bought my property in 1999, I did extensive research for the area. I moved there because of the zoning there. If these folks didn't do their research and find out that, we can't do the things we want to do here because of the zoning, that's kind of their problem. That's not our problem. I moved there because I want peace and quiet. I built my forever home there. I just paid it off 2 years ago. I plan on living there the rest of my life, and I hear the dogs all night long. I don't want to hear them anymore. It's too much. It's too much. And I'm afraid that if you all approve this, it's just going to set precedent for the whole area. We're going to start seeing, next this guy's going to want, to build race cars or something. So now I got to listen to race cars and dogs. It's too much. We moved there for the peace and quiet. There's no noise pollution. There's no light pollution. There's nothing. It's paradise out there. It's so quiet, so pretty out there. This is a nightmare. All night long, all day long. Bark, 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 bark. Howl, howl, howl. It's too much. So I implore you, please do not allow this to happen.
Thank you so much for your testimony. If you could please sign in. All right, then with that, we'll close opposition testimony. Mr. Grady.
A couple things. First of all, as noted earlier, for those who provided testimony, Fernando Quinones is available to answer questions regarding oral argument. Couple of things regarding the applicant's testimony. They had mentioned wanting to do another home on the property. Given the acreage of the property, they could not do another dwelling on the property because given the plan category, which is 1 per 5 and it's 7.5 acres, they could do an accessory dwelling, which wouldn't count towards density, but they could not do 2 dwellings or subdivide the property to do that. The other issue, though, is probably of a larger concern, which the applicant's going to need to address and decide how they want to proceed, is that we conditioned the project. It said it was the kennel will be used for non-commercial business for personal use only, and we indicated that the adoption and/or sale of dogs shall not be permitted. The property owner in her presentation basically says that she's giving these, she's providing these dogs to finding homes for them, and I just spoke to the applicant briefly, and he said her thinking is that she gives them away for free, therefore that's not adoption. But if she's giving them away even if it's for free, in my opinion, that's still adoption. So I think we've got an issue, which how the applicant wants to proceed, it's up to them. But our conditions are as provided, which is no adoption. It's for personal use only, and so.
And you make a distinction between its adoption or sale.
Yes, because again, the idea was our understanding. These were, she was keeping these kennels for dogs that are personal, whatever, and so to understanding potential concerns about establishing a more commercial type use there. Or
as she explained it wouldn't be permitted.
Excuse me?
As she explained the use, it wouldn't be permitted under these conditions.
Under these conditions, my understanding, without looking in more detail, so okay. The applicant may want to consider asking for continuance to further evaluate it. If they don't want that restriction on there, then we're going to have to evaluate the request without that restriction. But
Okay. All right. Well, then, closing county staff comments. We'll go back to the applicant, who has 5 minutes for rebuttal.
Preston Price. I understand everybody's concerned with the amount of dogs and the noise, but to clarify things, there are 14 kennels there now. They do not plan on increasing that at all. It's just what's existing right now. And as far as if it's approved or not, my clients, they're going to continue to have the dogs whether or not they have kennels there. They would just like a nice facility for the dogs to have. And as far as adoption, she gives the dogs away, so if that's considered adoption, my understanding of adoption and yours are two separate things because of, you know, when you go adopt a dog at Hillsborough County, you have to pay a fee. She's just trying to rehome them. So we could use the term rehome, we could...
Well, let me interrupt you just 1 second. So how many dogs would the code permit today on this property?
I'd have to check the regulations because I don't think for dogs it regulates it by numbers. Again, there's with respect to kennels, I think it really just...
But a kennel is not permitted today.
Well, again, it is permittable today under the zoning. Their issue is again, given the acreage of the parcel and the fact that they want to continue residential and also do the kennel, and the current
use,
lot right now doesn't meet so they...
Okay.
So that's the issue, is doing both at the same time.
I
So and the code provisions. And so, yeah, again, if a private person wanted to have any number of dogs, the code doesn't regulate the number of private dogs somebody can have. And so I think our thinking was that, our understanding of what they wanted to do, that, and again, certainly I'd have to look into more closely regarding giving them away versus selling them, whether or not that quote unquote would be considered adoption. So I just wanted to point out for the record, if he wants to proceed forward, that the conditions make it clear you can't do adoption. It's for personal use. And so at the end of the day, a determination is that giving them away is adoption. They're not going to be able to do that. I want that on the record and cleared so the applicant can decide how they want to proceed.
Okay, we understand. But our feeling is we're not adopting the dogs out. She's just giving them away.
But you understand, just so you get the gravity of this, the county's interpretation is that what you're doing by adopting them out, giving them away, qualifies as adoption, which is not permitted under these zoning conditions. So you would be in violation if this were approved by how you explain you're conducting this use. So if you would like to continue, we're not going to haggle this out right here at the hearing. So if you would like to continue to resolve this and make sure that what you're asking for meets what you're actually doing, then the county is suggesting that you take a continuance to work it out.
Can I get a second for her to interpret?
Yeah. Yeah, we could take a minute. We just have to start the next case before midnight.
I just keep all my dog and all my rescue.
You need to be on the record.
I just keep all my dog, my own. No, I don't going to look for homes or nothing. They're going to stay with me.
So
I'm rescue dogs, and I keep my dog with me.
So are you withdrawing the request for the kennel?
No,
No.
For both uses?
We're withdrawing the adoption.
Well, they're not allowed to do adoption now.
Well, I mean, she's not adopting out the dogs anymore, so any dog she rescues, she will keep.
I just keep my dog.
Sir, you can't speak from the audience. So how should we proceed, Mr. Grady, to make this immensely clear of the conditions. Are you proposing to change the conditions as they're drafted?
The issue being that if this is not considered a kennel, then there's no reason for the rezoning. So I'm not sure at this point, because again, the code definition, if you give me a moment, can I have that?
I'll tell you what, is it helpful to, Mr. Grady, is it helpful to continue this to the end of the hearing? Go ahead and take the next case while you look into this, and then I'll give you all a few minutes.
Give me one
Okay.
second.
And my client is willing to accept the conditions for the rezoning.
Well, if she's willing to accept the conditions, I think that's what I wanted to clarify, because again, the code definition of kennel also includes nonprofit establishments for the rescue, rehabilitation, and adoption of dogs and/or cats. So certainly the way this is worded, even if she's rescuing them, keeping them, it could still constitute a kennel. So from an abundance of caution, I think regulating proceeding under that assumption that they're still a kennel even if they're not adopting would be appropriate. Again, if she wants to proceed understanding that, you know, she can't adopt these dogs out, then that's their choice whether they want to proceed. So again, that was our point, was we want to put it on the record that what the conditions provided for and made it clear what you can and can't do on the site.
All right, fair enough. So, and it's, I just want to make sure your position is clear on the record. You want to proceed as the conditions are drafted today?
Yes.
Okay, all right. And does that complete your rebuttal
Yes,
testimony?
ma'am.
All right, thank you so much. Then with that, we'll close rezoning 19-0613 and go to the last case.
The last case is E7 rezoning application 19-0817. The applicant's Timothy H. Powell. The request is rezoned from RSC 6 to a planned development. I'll provide staff recommendation after presentation by the applicant.
Good evening.
Good evening. My name is David Wright of TSP Companies. My address is P.O. Box 1016, Tampa, Florida 33601. I'm the authorized agent for the application, and I have been sworn in. I apologize for the cough drop.
Oh, no problem.
I'm requesting rezoning from residential single-family conventional 6 to planned development for the 1.44 acre property located at the southeast corner of the three-point intersection of US 41, 14th Avenue Southeast, and 1st Street Southwest. Subject property is vacant and located within the limits of the Ruskin Community Plan and the urban service area. The property's future land use designation is residential 4, which typically allows residential, suburban scale neighborhood commercial, office uses, and multi-purpose projects. The property is surrounded by the Res 4 future land use category in all directions and is adjacent to single-family residential uses located to the south, a large county stormwater pond and public quasi-public institutional uses to the east, and vacant single-family uses to the north and west. Residential single-family conventional 6 zone property is located to the south, agricultural rural is located to the east, and commercial general is located to the north and west. The proposed PD zoning will provide for a transition between the existing commercial zoning and uses along US 41 and the suburban scale residential development to the east and south. The subject property is owned by Mary and Martha House, a private, nonprofit, tax-exempt corporation with the mission of assisting women and children escaping domestic violence and homelessness. The requested plan development is for a single 9,025 square foot building for a family support service institution with an accessory dormitory for a maximum of 54 placed residents. The facility will provide for the Mary and Martha House administrative offices, domestic violence and educational and counseling support programs, and temporary housing for the placed mothers and children enrolled in the facility's on-site domestic violence programs. The proposed facility will be in compliance with the maximum intensities and density permitted under the Res 4 future land use classification and applicable regulations of the Land Development Code. Those calculations are included in the Development Services staff report. Additionally, the proposed plan development will include architectural design features to provide for a residential appearance and will provide enhanced landscaping along the perimeter of the project. A variation to Part 6.06, landscaping, irrigation, and buffering is requested. The proposed use would require a 20-foot buffer with Type B screening consisting of a 6-foot opaque fence wall or hedge with a row of evergreen trees planted on 20-foot centers. And along the eastern boundary, we're proposing a reduction to a 10-foot buffer with an 8-foot fence, and increased screening with evergreen trees planted on 15-foot centers instead of 20-foot centers. The adjacent portion of the RSC6 lot is too narrow to accommodate residential development. This does not require approval of a variation, but I wish to acknowledge that along the south boundary, the applicant is proposing the typical 20-foot buffer with an 8-foot fence and increased screening by a staggered double row of evergreen trees planted on 10-foot centers instead of on 20-foot centers. Planning Commission staff evaluated the request and found it to be consistent with the future of Hillsborough County Comprehensive Plan for unincorporated Hillsborough County and the Ruskin Community Plan. Additionally, Development and Services staff finds the facility will be of a scale and design that is consistent with the suburban character of the residential development in Area 3 of the Ruskin Community Plan. I noticed the surrounding property owners and neighborhood associations. I was not contacted by any citizens, and there are no objections listed in the party of record. We agree to the conditions of approval as listed in the Development Services staff report. Based on the submitted competent substantial testimony, the evidence in the zoning file, and that is part of the public record, and the evidence that is being presented here tonight, I respectfully request your recommendation of approval.
All right, thank you so much. Development Services.
Brian Grady, Hillsborough County Development Services Department. The request is rezoned to a planned development, a 1.44 acre parcel located at the southeast corner of the intersection of 14th Avenue Southeast and 1st Street Southwest. The applicant is requesting in a single 9,025 square foot building a family support service and accessory dormitory for a maximum of 54 place residents. The facility, Martha and Mary House, will provide for the administrative offices, domestic violence educational counseling support programs, and temporary housing functions for placed mothers and children enrolled in the facility's on-site domestic violence programs. As noted in the applicant's presentation, they are seeking variations to buffering and screening standards. Staff concurs with the applicant's justifications for those enhanced screening requirements as outlined in the staff report. Staff did determine, as outlined in the staff report, that the proposed facility is consistent with the Area 3 of the Ruskin Community Plan and the design guidelines in Section 3.2203, as outlined in the staff report. Also, as outlined in the staff report, staff did find that the request is compatible with the surrounding area. The proposed facility is located at the southeast corner of a 3-point intersection containing commercial uses located to the north and west. The retention pond owned by Hillsborough County is adjacent to the east. Therefore, staff found that the facility is appropriately located to provide a transition between existing commercial zonings along US 41 and more suburban scale residential development to the east and south of the subject site. Based on the considerations in the staff report, staff found the request approval with conditions. I'm available for any questions.
I don't have any at this time, but thank you. Planning Commission.
Excuse me. Melissa Leinhardt, Planning Commission staff. The subject property is located in the residential 4 future land use category. It is in the urban service area and within the limits of the Ruskin Community Plan. The proposed plan development includes a shelter that provides temporary housing, including institutional and educational component, and a dormitory that can accommodate up to 54 people located at the southeast corner of 1st Street Southwest and 14th Avenue Southeast. The subject property has sufficient acreage to accommodate the institutional use as well as the dormitory use. Planning Commission staff classifies the proposed development as a residential support use. Policy 17.1 of the future land use element identifies residential support uses as being allowable in any of the residential, commercial, and industrial future land use categories, provided that the facility be of a design, intensity, and scale that serves the surrounding neighborhood, or the non-residential development in which it occurs, and also to be compatible with the surrounding land uses and zoning. The request for a residential support use is also consistent with the Ruskin Community Plan, which supports housing that will accommodate a diverse population and income levels. Based upon those considerations, Planning Commission staff finds the proposed plan development consistent with the future of Hillsborough Comprehensive Plan for unincorporated Hillsborough County, subject to the conditions proposed by Development Services.
All right, thank you so much. I don't see anyone in favor or in opposition, so we'll move on from that. Mr. Grady, nothing further? No, all right, thank you so much. Then with that, we'll close rezoning 19-0817, and adjourn the hearing. Thank you all for your time.